Chapter 573. The efficacy of the medicine was very obvious. Of course, the main reason was that Chu Yang didn't have any experience with this kind of treatment. So, he wasn't sure about the efficacy of the medicine. He was afraid that it wouldn't be effective if it was too little. Therefore he poured a big bottle of Lust Dragon's blood into it. This was too much for second young Master Luo's so-called illness. In Luo Kudi's case, one mouthful of Lust Dragon's blood was enough. But he drank a whole bottle. The consequences were obvious. Second young Master Luo was afraid that he would waste the medicine's efficacy. So, he immediately circulated his martial power to dissolve the Lust Dragon's blood. He only felt a little hot at first. Then his lower body gradually reacted. He was pleasantly surprised. Second young Master Luo was somewhat flabbergasted when he stopped his martial power after half an hour. He stood up straight. He saw a bulging tent in his crotch. It was protruding very high. Luo Kudi felt that he was about to explode, but he was very happy in his heart. He was extremely happy. Motherfucker, I'm old. He didn't know what had happened to him when he was 13 years old. And big brother Luo Kuwu had caught him red-handed. So, he had been unable to recover from that setback. His heart had been tangled up until now. He only knew that he had a strange illness that he couldn't recover from. But he couldn't tell anyone about it. It was embarrassing. But the medicine had cured him now. Luo Kudi felt that he would be happy even if he had to hold this tent for a lifetime. Awu, second young Master Luo held the tent and jumped 50 feet high. Then he laughed heartily. Bang 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 bang, second Master Luo is about to open. This was no longer the howl of a vicious wolf. Instead, it had turned into the howl of a pervert. Everyone spurted out their saliva in unison. Second young Master Luo strode forward with his head held high and his chest puffed out. He walked with a majestic gait. He was radiating a heroic aura as he walked in the front. And he kept singing along the way. All the brothers raised their eyebrows. Chu Yang didn't dare to utter a word. He could also see that this guy had taken too much of it. Perhaps this guy would have to hold on for several days if he couldn't release it immediately. But how can I release it now? Minister Chu looked around. However, he couldn't find even a female mouse. We'll reach the Blackwater River if we walk forward for another 50 miles. Gu Duxing was familiar with the terrain. We'll reach the O clan after we cross the Blackwaters River. In other words, we'll be going to the Xie family soon to rest and have a good sleep. Blackwater River? Chu Yang's feet didn't even touch the ground as he fled. So, how could he have paid any attention to the Blackwater River? Moreover, he had taken a different route at that time, so he had never seen him. Heishui River. The entire riverbed is black, so the river water looks black. That's how it got its name. The river is 5 miles wide and the current is very fast. Gu Duxing smiled and said, but the fish in the river are very delicious. Boss, why don't you give it a try? Well, even someone like you, who has never had any desire for good food, said that it was delicious. I must try it. Chu Yang nodded. The group of people chatted and laughed, casually walking towards the Blackwater River. After walking for more than 30 miles, they could already faintly hear the sound of water. Suddenly, Chu Yang furrowed his brows and muttered, something seems to be wrong. Tan Tan raised his nose and sniffed the air. He was also somewhat surprised. After walking for a while, Gu Duxing and Dong Wushang stopped at the same time. Something is very wrong. Why does it feel like a storm is coming? It's not a suppression. It's the aura of death. Tan Tan sniffed again and said while shaking his eyebrows. There seems to be a situation in front. Dong Wushang muttered, didn't we just get rid of a group of ambushers? How come there's still more in front? Everyone had extraordinary spiritual sense. So, they immediately concealed their figures and cautiously sneaked forward. Suddenly, the front widened and everyone's complexion changed as they saw it from afar. They saw that there was a layer of white corpses of fishes and shrimps in the underbrush on the shore. These corpses had been intercepted by the aquatic plants on the shore. There are so many dead fishes. Could it be that the O clan used poison techniques in the water? GMO murmured to himself. There were also many people standing on high ground and watching covetously. Some people seemed to be looking for something in the river upstream. What's going on? Gu Duxing looked with his sharp eyes. These people have their faces covered. It seems that they are looking for something or searching for someone. Ao Xie Yun. Chu Yang and Dong Wushang's eyes flashed as they recalled this name. Those people of the O clan had ambushed Ao Xie Yun. And they had seen such a big lineup here. It was obvious that they had come across a trap to deal with Ao Xie Yun. Or it could be said that this was a battlefield. Say, or not. Everyone's gaze looked at Chu Yang. Chu Yang muttered to himself irresolutely. He had only met Xie Yun once. So, his impression of him wasn't very good, but it wasn't very bad either. However, one thing was certain, the three heavens would fall into chaos if Xie Yun died here. Why did the O clan want to deal with Xie Yun? Chu Yang muttered to himself and asked this question. It seemed as if he was asking himself, look at this situation. How can the O clan have such a big lineup? At least 3 clans have joined hands. So, why did these clans want to kill Xie Yun? Could it be that something big is going to happen in the 3 heavens? Gu Duxing muttered. Chu Yang insipidly replied, what big thing can happen in the 3 heavens? The matter of the northern wilderness has just ended. And the 3 stars divine clan still hasn't made any move. In fact, they have become even quieter. So, nothing big will happen in a short time. Suddenly, a bright light flashed in his mind, but the one who dealt with Xie Yun is the O clan. And the O clan has recently offended us the most. We aren't big shots. But we represent the big clans. Could it be that? Could it be that the O clan dealt with Xie Yun in order to shift the blame to us? Dong Wuxiang's mind turned very quickly. So he immediately asked. There's such a possibility? Chu Yang pondered. Then he raised his eyebrows and said, let's go over. Firstly, we have to hurry on our journey. Secondly, we can't look on with folded arms if this is the case. But everyone should pay attention. Firstly, there's no harm in stretching out your hand if you can. But don't force yourself if you can't. Chu Yang's eyes were fixed on the silhouettes that were constantly flashing in the distance. The enemy's strength is too strong. They have more than several hundred people at present. The 7 of us aren't enough to be swallowed by the enemy. Yes. The brothers agreed in succession. The plan had been decided. So, everyone immediately set into action. They were about to rush out when Chu Yang stopped them. We are separated from them by a river. This isn't a good thing. We must find a way to cross the river first. How do we cross the river? Tan Tan Butong, you 2 will walk in front. We will cover our faces and follow behind you as subordinates. We will cross the river directly. Chu Yang's mind turned as he said, these people are carrying out such an important robbery. So they certainly won't cause any side issues. We will be able to attack or retreat as long as we cross the river. We will have the initiative in our hands. Good idea. Everyone was extremely daring. So they immediately acted according to his words. Meng Luo was in charge of this section of the lower reaches of the river. The Meng clan's strength had been greatly damaged. Moreover, it had a notorious reputation. So, he naturally didn't have a share in the upper reaches of the river where Xie Yun could be caught. After all, catching Xie Yun was related to the division of the hegemonic forces in the future. It would be a great merit. So, how could such a good job fall into the hands of the Meng clan who had fallen into the water? Therefore, the Meng clan was in charge of the longest section of the river. The entire lower reaches of the river were under the Meng clan's jurisdiction. However, everyone knew that this section was also the one with the least hope of catching Xie Yun. Meng Luo hung his head dejectedly. His face was gloomy as he sat on a stone by the river. He was swinging the whip in his hand. He was obviously very dissatisfied with this arrangement. However, he couldn't do anything about it. He was in the middle of letting the people of his clan search the river. Suddenly, a long and loud cry was heard from the opposite side. This long and loud cry was extremely strange. It sounded as if a hungry wolf was howling towards the sky. But it also sounded as if thousands of male ducks were crying together. Everyone who heard this long and loud cry shivered in unison regardless of their level of martial power. They weren't shaken. Instead, they were frightened. What kind of freakish monster can issue such a cry? It's simply a nightmare. Meng Luo suddenly stood up and saw that a few people's silhouettes were coming over from the opposite side of the river. They were neither fast nor slow. The ones in the lead were 2 strange-looking youths. Behind them were 5 people. All 5 of them were dressed in black and had their faces covered. Their loose black robes made them look like 5 ghosts as they floated over without their feet touching the ground. Meng Luo's pupils shrank. Powerful. He clearly felt an intense murderous aura from the bodies of these 7 people. Moreover, they had an overbearing aura of disdain for the common people. There must be some experts among them. Those people had already arrived at the riverside while he was thinking. They didn't even think about it. They waved their hands and broke a big tree by the riverside from its roots. Then it fell into the river. They are getting ready to cross the river. Meng Luo became somewhat angry. Don't you see that I'm guarding this place? You didn't even ask me anything. You just wanted to come over? Did I give you permission to come over? He signaled with his eyes. A king-level expert of the Meng clan understood. He stepped forward a few steps and said in a loud voice, "May I ask which group of friends are you from?" The skinny monkey-like youth didn't speak. But the ghost-like youth raised his head. Then he tilted his head and said, "Who are you? Do you think you can ask about my origin?" That king-level expert of the Meng clan felt somewhat dizzy. So, that extremely unpleasant voice was issued by this person. He felt his blood and chi surge as he listened to it at such a close distance. He's even more powerful than the legendary heavenly demons. I'm a subordinate of the Meng clan. May I ask who your excellency is? The opposite party's attitude was unyielding. So, the king-level expert of the Meng clan naturally became somewhat soft. He's from the extreme north. And he's so powerful. But I haven't heard of any big clan there. How can this guy be so arrogant? Tan Tan let out a strange laugh. His voice made people unable to swallow anything for 3 days after hearing it. Meng clan? How come I haven't heard of it? He looked around as he spoke. Then he raised his nose and asked, "Ichiang, have you heard of it?" What? Chapter 574. Chu Yang almost wanted to kick this bastard into the river. He dares to call me by my nickname? And he calls me Ichiang in a strange way? He is asking for a beating? However, the current situation was special. So, he had no choice but to swallow his anger and say, "I heard that there is a Meng clan in the upper three heavens. And this clan is quite big. So, these people in front of us are probably from that clan." "Oh ahem," Tan Tan strangely laughed and said, "So, they are from the upper three heavens? No wonder I haven't heard of them. Ichiang, this is the first clan from the upper three heavens that we have seen since we came down, The complexion of the king-level expert of the Meng clan was deathly pale. His body was on the verge of collapse. He had almost collapsed after being bombarded by this extremely powerful voice. Meng Luo's eyes brightened. A person from the upper three heavens? It seems that his status isn't low. The person beside him was a third-grade emperor-level expert of the Meng clan. He had a serious expression on his face as he whispered, "Young lord, this person seems to be from the upper three heavens." Meng Luo rolled his eyes and said in his heart, "Do I need you to tell me this? I have already said it myself." Moreover, the people around him are experts. In particular, the sword energy and saber energy had soared to the sky. I'm afraid, there is at least one sword emperor and one saber emperor among the black-clothed people around him. Sword emperor and saber emperor? Meng Luo's eyes suddenly lit up. Moreover, the cultivation of the person who is speaking beside him isn't revealed. So, I can't see the depth of his cultivation. Meng Luo was shocked. How could he not know what Sword Emperor and Saber Emperor meant as a direct descendant of a top-notch clan in the upper three heavens? There were indeed many Emperor-level experts in the upper three heavens. At the very least, Meng Luo knew of the existence of a 7th-grade Emperor-level expert. However, there wasn't a single pure Sword Emperor or Saber Emperor. There were similarities between fists and palms. And there were also similarities between sabers and swords. As for other weapons, soft or hard, they all had the same principles. So, they could learn from each other's strong points to make up for their shortcomings. However, that would make them appear heterogeneous and impure. They would be ordinary Emperor-level experts even if they were to become Emperor-level. Some people would learn from each other in their early days. They would comprehend and make progress. However, they would choose one path after reaching a certain point. And they would become the so-called Saber Emperor or Sword Emperor. However, such a Saber Emperor couldn't be mentioned in the same breath as a Saber Emperor who had focused on practicing the saber since childhood. Just the dullness of this path was enough to drive any expert crazy. However, once he reached the Emperor level, his future path would be smooth sailing. Therefore, it could be said that a true Sword Emperor or Saber Emperor would at least become a saint-level expert in the future if they didn't suffer a calamity. This was the legend of the Heavenly Layer, and also the most authoritative legend. This ugly youngster in front of me has a pure bodyguard of a Sword Emperor and a Saber Emperor? What kind of family background was this? As for the person whose cultivation level could not be determined, he should be the peerless expert who was truly protecting this duke. If he didn't make friends with such an aristocratic family now, when would he? Meng Luo hastily stepped forward. Then, he smiled in an elegant manner and said, "May I ask if you are from the upper three heavens? May I know your surname?" "Smart. You have a promising future. My surname is Yi." Tan Tan burst into loud laughter. His appearance was extremely rampant. He only knew that his master's beloved wife was surnamed Yi in the upper three heavens. So he only knew about this big clan. So he naturally couldn't say anything else at this moment. So it's Yi Gong. Meng Luo sweated again. No wonder he is so awesome and flashy. He's the Yi Gong of the number 1 aristocratic family of the upper three heavens. But such an aristocratic family has a 10,000-year-old inheritance. So how could it give birth to such a repulsive person? Could it be that his parents are cousins and that they got married? He pondered in his heart, but he didn't dare to show it on his face. Tan Tan snorted. Then he pointed at Meng Luo's nose from afar. Then he said in an insufferably arrogant manner, "Your surname is Meng?" "Yes, my surname is Meng." "Well, surnamed Meng, don't tell me that you want me to talk to you across the river? Aren't you tired?" Tan Tan's current appearance was almost as arrogant as the heavens. He was basically saying, "I will eat you. You have no choice but to obey whatever I say." This kind of attitude. He had completely displayed the tyrannical attitude of the playboy of the number 1 aristocratic family of the upper three heavens. This kind of performance caused GMO and Luo Kudi, the 2 great debauches, to be fearful. How could this be compared to pure talent? Only this shameless fellow would be able to do such a thing. GMO cursed in his heart. Perhaps this guy is too engrossed in his role, let alone the others. I'm afraid he's also thinking that he's the Yi clan's Grand Duke. Since that's the case, Yi Gong might as well cross the river and have a chat. Meng Luo naturally followed the good advice. He immediately made a hand gesture to withdraw his vigilance, and respectfully welcomed Yi Gong to cross the river. He stepped on a big tree and floated over. The big tree extended several hundred feet above the river's surface. Then he leaped up and crossed 300 feet. Then he flicked his hand and shot out a branch. Then he stepped on the tip of his foot, and lightly floated to the other side of the river. He didn't even look at Meng Luo. Instead, he turned around and stood on the shore to wait for Tan Tan and the others to cross the river. It was the image of a loyal and devoted old guard. Moreover, he was the first to cross the river. And this also confirmed Meng Luo's conjecture that this was the true expert of the guards. Gu Du Xing let out a shout, and his sword energy soared into the sky. He stepped on a big tree and suddenly soared up. Then, a wisp of sword light flew close to the surface of the water like a rainbow. The swords on the waists of the people of the Meng clan issued a clang sound the moment Gu Du Xing's sword light shot out. It seemed as if dozens of swords had suddenly seen the supreme emperor of the sword. He's indeed the purest sword emperor. That 3rd grade emperor-level expert fiercely opened his mouth. Then he closed it tightly and confirmed to himself in his heart. The saber light pervaded the air. It was mighty and overbearing. Dong Wushang followed behind. The purest saber emperor. That 3rd grade emperor-level expert confirmed his conjecture once again. Then Tan Tan and the others leisurely flew over. Everyone was silent. They looked indifferent and arrogant. In fact, they looked as if they were 1,000 miles away. However, everyone was excited in their hearts. I didn't expect that crossing the river would be so easy. Even Chuyang was surprised. They didn't know that Meng Luo's Meng clan had become a target of scorn in the upper three heavens. Moreover, there wasn't a single pure sword emperor or saber emperor in the upper three heavens. So this naturally made Meng Luo's imagination run wild. The appearance of sword emperors, saber emperors, and the grand dukes of the upper three heavens had given rise to a kind of opportunistic mentality in Meng Luo's heart. Who in the upper three heavens would dare to make a move on the Meng clan if I could climb up to the Yi clan? Even the Ao clan wouldn't dare to. Therefore, Meng Luo was afraid that the reception wouldn't be satisfactory. So, how could he have any doubts? And this peculiar phenomenon was caused by Chuyang. He had exposed Meng Luo's devil technique on MT Dingjun. And this phenomenon had occurred because of this. It could be said that there was a cause before and an effect after. What are you doing here? Tan Tan came over and occupied the big stone where Meng Luo had previously sat. He stretched his legs and asked without any proper sitting posture. Well, this, I won't hide it from Yi Gong. We're here to hunt down a fugitive. Meng Luo smiled and said, this guy has committed all kinds of crimes in the upper three heavens. He has plundered and plundered. The people's indignation. So, we had no choice but to join forces to get rid of this evildoer. Tan Tan picked his ear and said in an uninterested manner, fugitive? Motherfucker, the upper three heavens have disappointed me. They're so dirty that they even have a fugitive. Ichiang, I think this Meng clan's man is pretty good. Should we lend him a hand? Feng Luo felt happy in his heart. Chuyang was extremely angry in his heart. But he still put on a respectful act. This? Yi Gong, it doesn't seem to be a good idea. The clan lord had instructed us not to meddle in other people's business as much as possible before we came out. And we should go back as soon as possible after we've finished this matter. We shouldn't delay too much. Humph. Tan Tan flew into a rage. His eyebrows trembled up and down. Then he jumped up from the stone and shouted, "Fuck! What's not a good idea? What do you mean meddling in other people's business? Jiang, you're always using that old bastard to pressure me. I'm not the future clan lord. But I'm still the second master, right? Why is it that none of my words have any effect on you?" "No, no." Tan Tan angrily said, "I must see what that fugitive looks like today. Yi. This is really inappropriate. You have a heavy responsibility. So you shouldn't complicate matters." Gu Duxing and Dong Wushang tried to dissuade him. Tan Tan flew into a rage. He kicked Dong Wushang's body and cursed, "Fuck. I knew that you weren't convinced by me. You hit me when we were practicing martial arts the day before yesterday. So you've come to stop me now. You don't want me to go. But I must go." Dong Wushang grimaced in pain after he got kicked. This bastard is using public office to avenge private wrongs. I kicked him a few times when we were practicing martial arts the day before yesterday. And he's retaliating at this time? You just wait. Dong Dao Huang clenched his teeth in anger. Jiang looked at Meng Luo intently. He was clearly hinting for him to refuse. Meng Luo might have refused if they hadn't acted so pretentiously. However, Meng Luo changed his mind instead. He pretended not to see Chu Yang's expression and eagerly said, "It's great that Yi Gong is willing to help. May I know what Brother Yi has come here for? My clan barely has some power in the upper three heavens. So, I will do my best to help Brother Yi complete this important task once this matter is over." He had familiarly changed his address from Yi Gong to Brother Yi while speaking. Tan Tan was overjoyed. He looked at Meng Luo and said, "You're a good person." Meng Luo nodded again and again. He smiled and said that he didn't dare to accept the compliment. However, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry in his heart. "I've become a fucking street rat. But I've become a good person in this guy's mouth. But it's good that you think that I'm a good person. Are you relieved now?" Tan Tan proudly looked at Chu Yang and Dong Wushang. Both of them made a helpless gesture. Then they let out a long sigh and a short sigh. "Brother Yi, please?" Meng Luo had such a powerful helper that no one could afford to provoke. So, he obviously wanted to snatch the credit. Why would he stay here and look at the hopeless downstream? So he led Tan Tan up the stairs in high spirits. Several hundred people were carefully searching the river upstream. People were constantly coming out of the water to catch their breath. Then they would plunge back into the river. The scope of the search was getting smaller and smaller. Ao Xie Yun's hiding place was very close by now. Chapter 575. Meng Luo had a smile on his face as he led his 7 distinguished guests upstream in a grandiose manner. "My Meng clan will be blessed if I can befriend this Duke Yi from now on. Brother Yi, may I know why you have come to the three heavens this time?" Meng Luo asked while hurrying along the way. Then he laughed out loud and said, "Of course I'm not trying to inquire about the information of your noble clan. Besides, it would be useless even if I were to inquire about the top-secret information with my little ability, right?" "Of course." Tan Tan bared his teeth. "I know that you don't have that ability." Meng Luo felt as if he had eaten a fly. "I meant to be modest. But you've set your mind to it." "There's no harm in telling you." Tan Tan spoke up. "Second young master." Chu Yang hastily pretended to be an old man and hastily reminded him. "Shut up." Tan Tan turned his head and fiercely said, "It's not up to you to tell me what to do. You just need to keep me safe." "But," Dong Wushang timely interrupted. "But my ass." Tan Tan bluntly pointed his finger at them. "Don't tell me that you haven't seen it? Do you think that you can obstruct our Yi clan's great plan with just these few pieces of trash? Each and every one of them looks like a soft-footed shrimp. Don't tell me that you're so afraid of them?" Meng Luo's face turned black. He had already cursed Tan Tan's 8 generations of ancestors in his heart. "You motherfucker. You shouldn't insult people like this. You just slap them in the face. Motherfucker. Your Yi clan is very powerful. But you can't disregard people's face like this, right? This little guy doesn't know how to conduct himself. Hey, you say, am I right?" Tan Tan tilted his head and asked Meng Luo. "This guy has insulted them. And he's even asking them if I'm right?" It can be said that his humiliation has reached the pinnacle. Yes, our clan is like heaven and earth compared to the Yi clan. Meng Luo's face turned black. He had almost clenched his teeth. However, he still had no choice but to swallow his blood and agree with him. Isn't it? Isn't it? You see, they've admitted that they're soft-footed shrimps. Tan Tan looked at Chu Yang in an insufferably arrogant manner. What else do you have to say? Chu Yang opened his mouth. But he eventually closed it and sighed. Meng Luo almost spat out a mouthful of blood. He couldn't help but curse in his heart. Fuck your 18 generations of ancestors. I curse your Yi clan's ancestral graves to emit green smoke, and your ancestors to be eunuchs for generations. However, he didn't know that no matter how he cursed the Yi clan, it had nothing to do with this infuriating second Duke Yi in front of him. We came here to find a ruin from 10,000 years ago. Tan Tan clearly didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. He was incomparably arrogant. He had the face of a spoiled second generation at home. It seemed as if he could spill out the entire secret as soon as he opened his mouth. These ruins are extraordinary. Chu Yang and the others coughed repeatedly. Tan Tan choked back his words halfway. Then he angrily spat out a mouthful of saliva. You're really annoying. He didn't even let her finish her sentence. What the fuck are you coughing for? The treasure map is with me, not with you. Damn it, the next time this young master comes out alone, I won't bring you guys along. Other than being a wet blanket, there's no other use. Meng Luo Xang clenched his teeth. I can guarantee that you won't live for more than half a day in 3 days if you come out on your own. But this guy has a treasure map? A ruin from 10,000 years ago? Fuck, those ruins must be extraordinary. Otherwise, why would the Yi clan send people down here with their financial resources? There are a lot of ruins in 3 days, Meng Luo chuckled and said in a carefree manner. What nonsense are you talking about? Is that your mouth or asterisk asterisk? Your mouth is full of shit. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Motherfucker. Tan Tan angrily berated Meng Luo. He directly cursed him. Meng Luo couldn't bear it any longer. He couldn't bear it any longer and was about to turn hostile. So, he angrily said, do you think that the ruins you've discovered can be compared with the hidden treasure of the Tribulation Sword Master from 10,000 years ago? He abruptly closed his mouth as he spoke. It seemed as if he had discovered that he had spilled the beans. So he looked annoyed. The hidden treasure of the Tribulation Sword Master? Meng Luo's blood started to boil. He almost looked up to the sky and cheered, I'm rich. Wouldn't it be a big harvest if I could contribute a little bit in this matter? As for being scolded, I'll just pretend that I didn't hear it. This has nothing to do with my happy mood. I'm afraid that Meng Luo is the only one who can be so happy after being so viciously insulted. Brother Yi, don't worry. Brother Yi regards me as a brother. So, I won't reveal Brother Yi's secret. Not only that, but I'll also provide Brother Yi with all the help he can get. I just want to make a sincere friend. That's all. Meng Luo straightforwardly said, I don't want anything else. I said that you're a good person. Haha, I felt that you were pleasing to the eye as soon as I saw you. You didn't get angry when I called your mouth a asterisk asterisk asterisk. You didn't get angry either. You're such a good person. Good good good. This is self-restraint. Yes, self-restraint, Tan Tan was very happy. He patted Meng Luo's shoulder as if he was patting an obedient puppy. The experts of the Meng clan exposed a faint look of humiliation in their eyes. Our young lord is being humiliated like this. What face do we have left? The corner of Meng Luo's mouth twitched again. He had just calmed down a little, but now he was fuming with anger. Did you get angry when I called your mouth a asterisk asterisk asterisk? Motherfucker. Bullshit self-restraint. I wouldn't have shown you such self-restraint if you weren't the second Duke of the Yi clan. I won't mind getting rid of you bastard when I find out the location of the Tribulation Sword Master's hidden treasure. No, I can't get rid of him. I want him to beg for death, but he can't beg for death. How about this? It's rare for you to be so obedient. I'll share some of the hidden treasure with you after I get it. Tan Tan said in a very generous manner. He had made an empty promise in a very light manner. Then he stroked Meng Luo's scalp with his hand and patted him to appease him. Thank you, Brother Yi. Meng Luo was overjoyed. Well, you're very obedient. Yi. Little Meng, work hard. I'll take you to the heavens if you're comfortable patting me. Tan Tan squinted his eyes as he enjoyed Meng Luo's gratitude and flattery. He had given him another empty promise. Brother Yi, you're really a good person. Meng Luo felt dizzy as soon as he heard the words take you to the heavens. He was so pleasantly surprised that he almost fell to the ground. He even started to stammer when he spoke. With 1 foot high and 1 foot low, he felt as if he was floating in the clouds. Rushing to the upper three heavens was the ambition of all the clans in the upper three heavens. However, it was easy to go up there. But it was extremely difficult to gain a foothold there. So, one would only end up being annihilated if they went up there without a foundation. However, it wouldn't be worth mentioning if they had the backing of the Yi clan, the ruler of the upper three heavens. However, these 10,000-year-old clans have never easily accepted outsiders. Could it be that I, Meng Luo, have run into great luck today? Can I realize my clan's supreme wish of rushing to the upper three heavens in one fell swoop? Wouldn't that mean that even the chickens and dogs have ascended to the heavens? Meng Luo will serve the young lord to the best of my ability. Meng Luo hastily made a solemn vow. Meng Luo's eyes became moist. This is a good thing that can only be encountered by luck. He had called the other party Yi Gong at first. Then he had changed his address to Brother Yi, in order to get closer to him. But he had changed his address to Young Lord, when he had heard that the other party wanted to recruit him. So he had accepted his status as a subordinate. Perhaps he would have considered it if this had happened before. But the Meng clan obviously didn't have a foothold in the upper three heavens now. So he would have died even if he took the risk of using Aoxia Yun to create chaos. Moreover, he would have had to guard against the Meng clan burning the bridge after crossing the river. After all, the Meng Luo clan had become the target of public criticism after King of Hell Chu had leaked the evil technique. The Meng clan's evil technique would have been a big target even if the O clan, Tian clan, and the other clans managed to gain a foothold. Those guys might not necessarily have good intentions. They could have thrown their clans out to appease the public's anger, and win the hearts of the people when the time came. After all, those guys weren't good men and women. Meng Luo hated King of Hell Chu to the bone as he thought of this. How could it be better than hugging such a thick thigh like the Yi family? Good boy. Tan Tan praised him. Then he turned his head and said, Yang Humph, what do you think if this guy follows us? Chu Yang frowned. He sighed and said, This? Second young master, this man's heart is unfathomable. I knew you wouldn't allow it. The more you don't allow it, the more I want to take him to the heavens. Tan Tan fiercely clenched his teeth. His teeth made cracking sounds as he exhaled a fierce breath from his nostrils. Take a look at you. You don't even know how to flatter me all day long. Look at this Meng Xiao. He doesn't fight back when we hit him and he doesn't talk back when we scold him. So it's settled? Meng Luo was smiling in his heart. He made a solemn vow and guaranteed, Senior, don't worry. Meng Luo will do his best to assist the young lord. May I be struck by lightning if I have any disloyalty. Chu Yang, Gu Du Xing and Dong Wushang frowned at the same time. What does this guy want to do? We're about to reach our destination. So, why is he boasting so much if he moves quickly? Meng Humph. Tan Tan gave Meng Luo a flirtatious glance. Meng Luo immediately quivered. He thought, could it be that this second young master is homosexual? Then should I agree or not if he wants me to serve him in bed? Could it be that I, Meng Luo, have toyed with people for more than 10 years? But I still want to be toyed with? His heart was conflicted. He was worried about personal gains and losses. So, he couldn't help but stutter a little. Young lord, please instruct me if you have something to say. Let's take a trip to the AO clan after we're done with the matters here. I heard that there's an AO clan in the upper three heavens? It's quite big, Tan Tan's nostrils were raised high. He had said the word quite big. But he had stiffly turned it around 17 or 18 times. His contempt and disdain had involuntarily spilled out. AO clan? Meng Luo was dumbfounded. Yes, there is such a clan. He was puzzled in his heart. Why did he suddenly mention the AO clan? That's good. I thought that the rumors were wrong. Tan Tan nodded in a rather comforting manner. First, let's go and catch a younger brother of the AO clan. He has a pure bloodline. Then this matter will be a little bit settled. Chapter 576. A direct descendant of the world-defying clan? Pure bloodline? Meng Luo was somewhat at a loss. He thought, isn't that Aoxia Yun? Why did he suddenly mention Aoxia Yun? I don't know what young master wants to do with the bloodline of the AO clan. Meng Luo XN suddenly became vigilant. You idiot. Tan Tan slapped him on the head in exasperation. Did you grow up eating shit? Why did I catch him if he's useless? To be his brother-in-law? Meng Luo scratched his head and felt confused. What does this mean? Let me tell you. I heard that the Ao clan occupies the dragon vein of the lower three heavens. Do you understand? There's a hidden treasure under the dragon vein. But there's a restriction in that place. So ordinary people can't go there. However, the Ao clan has occupied the dragon vein for thousands of years. So their pure bloodline already has the power of the dragon vein. So they need the blood essence of a direct descendant of the Ao clan to open the seal of the dragon vein and get the treasure. Tan Tan continued, otherwise that dragon vein has the restriction of the tribulation sword energy. So, even a saint-level expert can't avoid getting seriously injured if they come here. Do you understand? I'll chop off your head if you dare to tell anyone about this. So that's how it is, Meng Luo agreed with his mouth. However, he was trying to figure out the possibility of this matter. The dragon vein does exist. The Meng clan is a clan that has occupied a dragon vein and established it. Ao clan is getting more and more powerful. And it doesn't seem to be without reason. The opening of blood essence seems to have been vaguely mentioned in the ancient legends. Could it be that this guy is telling the truth? Meng Luo Xian repeatedly thought about this. He was somewhat lost in thought for a while. Ao clan mustn't know about this matter. Tan Tan raised one eyebrow and raised the other eyebrow. He put on an incomparably solemn expression as he solemnly reminded Meng Luo Xian. Then he smiled frivolously. That group of idiots has been guarding a huge treasure for more than 1,000 years. But they still don't know about it. They only think that it's an ordinary dragon vein. Ha ha ha, if I hadn't happened to obtain the treasure map this year. Chu Yang, Gu Du Xing, Dong Wu Shang, and the others prostrated themselves in admiration. Tan Tan didn't even bat an eyelid. He had turned this great duke of the Meng clan upside down. Moreover, he had also devised a plan. And he had drawn the bow step by step to save Ao Xie Yun. He was truly a talent. Minister Chu was ashamed of his inferiority. GMO, who had always thought that he was eloquent, was even more impressed. Damn. So, you can do things like this too? He really did not know how Tan Daping came up with this idea. This was simply a stroke of genius. Why are you sighing? Why are you sighing? Tan Tan fiercely glared at them. You bunch of people? How can you understand my grand blueprint and my painstaking strategy? He then hugged Meng Luo's shoulder as he spoke. Then he raised his nose and said, We've already decided to look for a helper to help us accomplish this matter after we've arrived here. Little Meng Meng is a bit slippery. But why can't we bring him back to the clan if we can do it? I'm a far-sighted person. Chu Yang sighed and shook his head. He then fanned the flames and ferociously looked at Meng Luo. You with the surname Meng, don't try to play any tricks. This old man will slaughter your entire clan if I find out that you're trying to harm the young lord. It will be as easy as slaughtering chickens and dogs. Yes. I will follow senior's instructions. I won't dare to offend you, Meng Luo swallowed his anger and replied. He thought to himself, if one day I climb to a position higher than you, the first thing I'll do is to fire you, this unfavored old bastard. Itchy, humph. Tan Tan's eyebrows twitched. He was unable to contain his joy. You said that my father will make me the clan lord since I've quietly accomplished this important matter. Will my father make me the clan lord? Will he break my big brother's neck and throw him out? Chu Yang rolled his eyes. He then stammered for a while. Then he finally said in an honest manner, Second young master, I think you shouldn't think about the clan lord's position. Meng Luo Xn on the other side greatly agreed. He thought, can a guy like you become the clan lord of the upper three heavens? I won't believe it even if you beat me to death. Tan Tan suddenly flew into a rage. He was so furious that he stomped his feet and roared, Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Even a dog can do the clan lord's position. Everyone was dumbfounded. The corner of Meng Luo's mouth twitched. He thought, aren't you calling your father a dog? Why haven't they arrived yet? Tan Tan complained, where's that scum? Hurry up and capture him. Let's get out of here. How can there be so many shitty matters? Meng Luo came back to his senses. He then made up his mind, I must do my best in this matter. And I have an opportunity to make a great contribution right now. Congratulations, young lord. Congratulations, young lord. Meng Luo lowered his voice. This fugitive is the candidate that young lord has been looking for. He's the pure-blooded Grand Duke of the Ao clan Ao Xie Yun. Tan Tan was shocked. He suddenly turned his head and looked at Meng Luo. Then he suspiciously said, Meng Luo, I've just said it and you've already prepared it? You shouldn't have lied to me like this. How can there be such a coincidence? Suddenly, his eyes turned sharp and he growled in a low voice, "Do you think that I'm so gullible? Damned bastard." Meng Luo forced a smile. He wished that he could dig out his heart, liver and lungs. "Young lord, I'm telling the truth. We're searching for the young lord of the Ao clan, Ao Xie Yun." "Bullshit. Bullshit." Tan Tan became furious. "Do you think that I don't know about the Ao clan? It's not in my eyes. But it's still the #1 clan in the upper three heavens. And you're treating the Grand Duke of the #1 clan as a fugitive? Motherfucker. You shouldn't brag like this." He fiercely put his mouth close to Meng Luo's face and sprayed his saliva on it. "Take me for example. Who would dare to chase after me in the upper three heavens? Fuck me. You dared to deceive me. I'll kill you." "It's true, things are so coincidental. Young lord, you're so lucky." Meng Luo suddenly cried out in grievance. "You can ask them if you don't believe me. Everyone knows. How can there be such a coincidence?" Tan Tan flew into a rage. It seemed as if he had been cheated out of his money. "Meng Luo, oh Meng Luo, I wanted to guide you. But I didn't expect that you would treat me as a fool. You're so good. TSK, you're playing tricks on me." Meng Luo felt so wrong that he almost vomited blood. It's true. Young lord, you can ask them if you don't believe me." However, the last bit of suspicion in his heart had vanished like smoke in thin air along with Tan Tan's violent rage. "Bullshit. They're your subordinates. What's the use of asking them?" Tan Tan's face turned black. "Do you want to die?" His stomach suddenly rumbled as he said this. So he couldn't help but curse. "Motherfucker, you've made me so angry that I'm hungry." He took out a fist-sized sparkling and translucent inner core of a spirit beast as he spoke. Then he stuffed it into his mouth. He didn't even chew it. Instead he stretched his neck and his neck swelled up. Then it fell down with a do sound. Meng Luo's eyes widened, and he nearly jumped up in fright. His scalp felt somewhat numb. He's eating the inner core of a spirit beast. This is worthy of being the second master of the Yi clan. Motherfucker. He can even eat the inner core of a spirit beast like this. Men, kill him for me. Tan Tan roared. His eyes emitted a murderous aura. He dared to deceive me. Humph. I've been wronged. Meng Luo hurriedly shouted. There's a reason for this. What's the reason? Tan Tan waved his hand and squinted at Meng Luo. It's like this. I was killed by that damned king of Hell Chu at Mt Dingjun that time. Meng Luo had no choice but to tell the whole story. Later on, the O clan dealt with King of Hell Chu, and led to, so they chased after Ao Xie Yun, like this. Everyone had a strange look on their faces after they had heard the reason. They hadn't thought that so many things, so many coincidences, the alliance of so many clans, and even the pursuit of Ao Xie Yun, were all because of Chu Yang. Even Chu Yang himself was stunned. Do I have such great ability? Did I make such a big impact? Fuck, how come I didn't know about this? So that's how it is? So, this person is truly the Grand Duke of the Ao clan? That Yun? Tan Tan's face was full of disbelief. Damn it, it can't be such a coincidence, right? His eldest daughter came when he was thinking of his daughter-in-law. Could it be that this is the destiny of this king? Everyone's heart was in turmoil. They felt like vomiting. Chu Yang hadn't expected that this junior martial brother of his who had grown up with him would have such an ability to act. This is amazing. Meng Luo nodded again and again. He then said in a flattering manner, Yes, young lord's good fortune fills the heavens. Thousands of coincidences can only prove that young lord is very lucky. Everything is easy and effortless for you. This is a gift from the heavens. And it's also the luck that one must have in order to achieve great things. Tan Tan shook his head. He was overjoyed. He patted Meng Luo. Fuck, you're very sensible. I like it very much. Wah. Am I handsome? Meng Luo was startled. He hastily replied, Handsome. You can't be any more handsome. I've never seen such a handsome man in the three heavens. His heart was in turmoil. Fuck, you can even ask me if I'm handsome or not? Fuck. Wah. Little Meng, your words are sincere. I like wahaha. Tan Tan burst into loud laughter. Everyone was speechless. They turned their heads away one after another. Everyone had reached the bottom of the river while they were talking. Odu Xiao and the others came over to greet them. Then he said in a bad tone, Meng Luo, what are you doing here instead of staying downstream? Who are these people? Meng Luo had a big backer now. So, how could he put these small shrimps of the three heavens in his eyes? He snorted and said, It's not up to you to tell me what kind of friends I want to make, right? Tan Tan used his finger to pick his nostril. Then he flicked his finger and a yellow sticky object stuck to Odu Zhao's white robe. Then he said in a strange tone, "Who's this? You don't feel at ease even after seeing this young master. Are the three heavens so unruly these days?" The complexion of Odu Zhao and the others changed. They looked at Tan Tan with a bad look in their eyes. Who is this? Chapter 577. Everyone's spirits were lifted. They didn't ask about the origins of Tan Tan and the others. Instead they turned their heads to look. Odu Zhao and the others pulled out their swords with a schwa sound. They saw the river water churning unceasingly. Then a shadow suddenly rushed out from under the water. Suddenly the weapons from all directions rushed over. Schwa, 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 schwa. Flesh and blood swirled in the air. That man was cut into pieces without uttering a sound. He was a revered martial artist of the Tian clan who had dived into the water. At the same time, a crashing sound was heard from another direction. Then a figure jumped out of the water. He was holding a dazzling saber in his hand. It was the sunlight saber that he had snatched from the lower three heavens. Ao Xie Yun had always regarded this saber as a treasure. He had kept it close to his body. However, he didn't use sabers. In fact, the Ao clan's secret technique was a sword. Therefore, he didn't have a chance to use it against the enemy. He was used to using a sword. So, he might as well use his bare hands against the enemy if he used a saber. Therefore, he didn't have a chance to use it. However, Ao Xie Yun had no choice but to use a saber after he had been discovered under the water. That was because his sword had already been broken. "Brother Ao, it's been a long time," Odu Zhao mischievously smiled. "It's you." Ao Xie Yun was surrounded. However, his face didn't change at all. The water droplets on his body were dripping down. He indifferently said, "Is it necessary to use such a big formation to kill me? It can't be helped. Brother Ao is the #1 expert of the younger generation of the lower three heavens. How could we catch you if we weren't cautious?" Odu Zhao laughed out loud. "Brother Ao managed to escape for thousands of miles even so. This makes me admire you." Ao Xie Yun looked around. Then he faintly smiled, "But you still managed to catch me." Ao Xie Yun had completely calmed down in this desperate situation. He smiled warmly. "Brother O, can I ask you a question?" "Brother Ao wants to ask why I want to kill you?" Odu Zhao smiled. "Yes. To be honest, Brother Ao and I are very close friends. I have always regarded Brother Ao as my closest friend and brother. I wouldn't have had the heart to kill you if I didn't have a choice." Odu Zhao sighed with regret and helplessly said. "Brother O, you're indeed a loyal and righteous man," Ao Xie said with a faint smile. Tian Bu Hui, Tu Qian Hao and young Black Devil burst into laughter at the same time. Odu Zhao's face turned somewhat red. He forced himself to remain calm as he said, "A hero is always better than a dead man." Ao Xie nodded and felt the same way. "Brother O, you and I are indeed on the same page. Since that's the case, please don't make me a muddle-headed ghost, okay? Brother Ao, you're actually innocent. We didn't want to deal with you. But we had no choice but to deal with you. Who made you the Grand Duke of the Ao clan?" Odu Zhao faintly smiled. "How can we frame Chu Danxiong if we don't kill you? If he didn't frame Chu Danxiong, how could he have caused such chaos in the three heavens? How can we deal with King of Hell Chu, Xie clan, Mo clan, Dong clan, Gu clan, and Luo clan without causing chaos in the three heavens?" Odu Zhao snorted. "How can we protect ourselves if we don't deal with them? How to dominate? However, if your Ao clan doesn't make a move, wouldn't all of this be for naught? So as long as you die, won't all of these be yours? So that's how it is." Ao Xie nodded in understanding. "It's all because of your ambition." Tian Bu Hui took a step forward and said, "Ao Xie, this Tian wanted to have a fair fight with you. No, it seems that there won't be a chance." However, Ao Xie slightly shook his head and calmly said, "There has never been a fair fight between you and me. That's because the Tian clan has never been in my eyes." Tian Bu Hui's eyes brightened. He then insipidly said, "I hope that Brother Ao's tongue will still be as sharp as ever after you become a ghost." Ao Xie burst into loud laughter and said, "I can't be sure about this. But there's one thing that's for sure. Ao Xie won't become a treacherous, despicable and shameless ghost even if I become a ghost." An ominous glint flashed in Tian Bu Hui's eyes. He then shouted, "Who will take Ao Xie's head for me?" Meanwhile, Ao Xie burst into loud laughter. His heroic voice spread far and wide. There wasn't the slightest bit of fear in his voice. He held his saber horizontally and shouted, "A good head is here. Who will take it?" Tan Tan pushed Meng Luo. Meng Luo immediately understood. He jumped up and said with a smile, "Brother Ao, this younger brother will exchange blows with you." The other Grand Dukes were startled. What's wrong with Meng Luo? Ao Shiyun is like a turtle in a jar. He won't be able to fly out even if you give him 2 pairs of wings. So, why should he personally take the risk in such a situation? It should be known that Ao Shiyun's cultivation was far above Meng Luo's. He was seriously injured at the moment. However, it wasn't impossible for him to take Meng Luo down with him. Ao Shiyun would go all out regardless of who would step forward at this time. The other Grand Dukes had misgivings about this. So they hadn't personally gone into action. However, they hadn't expected that Meng Luo, who had always been calm, would jump out like a hothead. Meng Luo laughed out loud and said, "Brother Ao's corpse is very useful. So, how can I feel at ease to let other people ruin it?" Then he raised his hand and said with a smile, "Brother Ao and I will exchange blows bare-handed." A murderous intention flashed in Ao Shiyun's eyes. He then said, "Brother Meng, please?" Meng Luo laughed out loud. Then he attacked. Ao Shiyun's saber light flashed, and the two of them started to fight. The 40 to 50 experts of the O clan seemed to be afraid that their young lord would lose. So they crowded forward to watch the fight. This was human nature. So Tianbu Hui and the others had to make a small concession. Chu Yang and the others didn't seem to be interested in this fight. They folded their arms and stood far away on a big rock to watch the fight. They were already at the periphery. The two men were fighting and the sound of collision was unceasingly echoing. Ao Shiyun became more and more surprised as the fight went on. He also became more and more puzzled. Meng Luo's attacks were fierce, and his moves were extremely vicious. However, they didn't have any killing intention. Every move he made was very powerful. But he didn't have the strength to hit Ao Shiyun's body. He is clearly going easy on me. Why? Ao Shiyun was puzzled. I have never had any friendship with Meng Luo. In fact, I don't even have a good impression of each other. In fact, I used to mock and ridicule him whenever I met him. So, why is he going easy on me this time? However, hope had risen in Ao Shiyun's heart no matter what. He had thought that he was going to die this time. So he was unafraid of death. But how could he seek death now that he had a chance to survive? He couldn't help but look around for an opportunity. This opportunity was extremely slim, but Ao Shiyun had no other choice. Meng Luo suddenly shouted while they were fighting. He then laughed and said, "Brother Ao's reputation is well deserved. You still have such fighting strength after being chased for thousands of miles. I admire you." He winked as he said this. Ao Shiyun's heart was full of doubts. But he suddenly saw a glimmer of hope in the midst of despair. So he coldly snorted and said, "I've been chased for thousands of miles. But I'm confident that I can drag Brother Meng to hell with me." Meng Luo unceasingly shot his palms, and sent dust flying in the air. His momentum was so great that he couldn't even see his opponent's shadow. He could only hear bang 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 sounds. Presumably the two men were fiercely fighting. Then Meng Luo roared, "Ao Shiyun, prepare to die." He approached Ao Shiyun in the dust. Then he hurriedly said in a low voice, "Left front, full strength. Don't resist. Someone will take you away from here." He didn't wait for Ao Shiyun to reply after he was done speaking. Then he suddenly roared crazily, "Ao Xie Yun." A loud explosion sound was heard. It seemed that the two men had collided with each other. Sand and pebbles were sent flying in all directions. Everyone raised their sleeves to shield themselves from the oncoming sand and pebbles. Dust and smoke filled the air. Then a shadow suddenly flew high into the sky like a meteor. Meng Luo's loud laughter was heard, "Die." He flew up, and heavily pounded his palms on Ao Shiyun's back. Then he kicked Ao Shiyun's waist. Ao Shiyun screamed as he was sent flying like a meteor. Meng Luo didn't relax. He chased after him and laughed complacently. Ao Shiyun is done for. Tianbu Hui, Du Xiao and the others had this feeling in their hearts. They hadn't expected that Ao Shiyun would be an arrow at the end of its flight. So, Meng Luo had taken care of him so easily. I would have taken the credit if I had known this earlier. Everyone's eyes opened wide when they turned their heads to look. They saw that Ao Shiyun's body had strangely flown more than 300 feet away. He was still gliding high in the sky. Oh no! Young Black Devil was the quickest to react. He stamped his foot and quickly chased after him. Everyone understood one after another. Ao Shiyun can't fly this far even if he's at his peak. So, how could he be sent flying? There's only one possibility for such a situation. Meng Luo? Meng Luo and Ao Xian must have colluded to help him escape. The great dukes clenched their teeth as they thought of this. What a good Meng Luo! Ao Xian had already flown over Chu Yang and the others. Suddenly, Gu Duxing unsheathed his black dragon sword with a clang sound. Then he transformed into a black lightning bolt. He became one with his sword and rushed into the sky. Then he grabbed Ao Xian's belt and unsheathed his black dragon sword. Then he flew out with a schwa sound. He flashed like a meteor in the sky. And he was already 1,000 feet away in a flash. Young Black Devil's body shook as he chased after Ao Xian the fastest. He blurted out, "Sword Emperor?" Chu Yang and the others let out a long and loud shout. Then they quickly followed after him. Meng Luo was the last to run. These things had happened at the same time. It was too much for the eyes to take in. So they didn't have enough time to react. They hadn't even dreamt that such a thing would happen. Odu Xiao and the others were chasing after Ao Xian with the experts of several big clans. But they were suddenly ambushed by the experts of the Meng clan. And 5 of them lost their lives. They were so angry that their hearts almost shattered. The people of the Meng clan also ran after Meng Luo before they could react. Meng Luo, you despicable villain. Odu Xiao was so angry that his entire body trembled. He almost vomited blood. He then shouted in a stern voice, "Chase after them. Kill them at all costs. Don't leave a single one alive." The experts of various big clans flew out. A cooked duck has flown away. Odu Xiao and the others almost rubbed their eyes. Fuck. Isn't this too outrageous? It would have been understandable if anyone else had done this. In fact, it would have been excusable if Odu Xiao had let Ao Xian go. In fact, it would have been acceptable. But why Meng Luo? Chapter 578. Odu Xiao suspected that he was dreaming. He could have suspected anyone. But he hadn't suspected Meng Luo. It was because Meng Luo and the Meng clan were in favor of this alliance. Moreover, they were also the most powerful force in hunting down Ao Xian. The reason for this was very simple. The Meng clan had already reached the end of their rope. So, they were hoping to get some benefits in this chaotic place. Moreover, Meng Luo had always been on bad terms with Ao Xian. Moreover, even if Meng Luo and Ao Xian were on good terms, Meng Luo had always been heartless. So he would never offend an alliance for Ao Xian. But now, the person who was least likely to betray him had betrayed him. This matter had left Odu Xiao Tianbu Hui and the others depressed, angry and puzzled. What was going on? Meng Luo had plenty of opportunities to let Ao Xian go if he had wanted to. In fact, he could have quietly sent Ao Xian out of the encirclement. However, he had never done so. That was why everyone was at ease. If they were colluding, why didn't they act earlier? Did he have to make a move when Ao Xian was at the end of his rope and had absolutely no chance of escaping? If he allowed all of Ao Xian's loyal subordinates to die, even if he rescued Ao Xian, it wouldn't be of any use, right? How could Ao Xian let him go? Everyone's mind was in a mess. No matter what he said, he couldn't understand. But things had already gotten to this point and they were completely out of control. Even if they couldn't figure it out, they had to continue chasing. Otherwise, if Ao Xian were to return to the Ao clan, we would be done for. More than 1,000 people chased after him. Gu Duxing's body was like a shooting star as he carried Ao Xian and flew away. Ao Xian only felt as if he was riding on the clouds. He said gratefully, "Thank you for saving me, Elder. May I know who you are?" Of course, Ao Xian was also a very knowledgeable person. When Gu Duxing unsheathed his sword, all the enemy swords immediately chimed in unison, as if they were worshipping the Emperor. Ao Xian naturally knew that this was the Sword Emperor. As the saying goes, even if you haven't eaten pork, you've seen a pig walk. Although such a Sword Emperor hadn't appeared in the 3 heavens for hundreds of years, how could Ao Xian not recognize the Sword Emperor as the successor of the #1 aristocratic family? Therefore, he took it for granted that someone with this level of cultivation must be a senior expert. Behind his mask, Gu Duxing smiled faintly and said, "Duke Xia, I am Gu Duxing." Ao Xian almost fell to the ground. If it wasn't for Gu Duxing carrying him, he would definitely have fallen to the ground. What? Gu Duxing, who was equally famous as himself? This Sword Emperor is actually Gu Duxing? Ao Xian's mind instantly went blank. How did he suddenly become a Sword Emperor? Then, what right did he have to be on par with them? Gu Duxing flew 10,000 feet away in one breath. Then he shrugged his shoulders and threw Ao Xian out. Dong Wuxiang let out a long howl. He turned into a saber aura and carried Ao Xieyun on his back. Then he flew out in a flash of saber light. This time Ao Xieyun didn't ask. He only sighed softly, "Dong Wuxiang, thank you." He was extremely disappointed. The two people who were once equally famous as him were now the Sword Emperor and the Saber Emperor. As for him, he was only a low-rank king, but he was pushed to the position of #1 expert of the younger generation of the Three Heavens. If it wasn't for the Ao clan, if it wasn't for his own clan, would it have been his turn? It was no wonder that others refused to accept him. How could he convince others with all these reasons? And Gu Duxing and Dong Wuxiang had relied on their own efforts to reach this position step by step. So, how could they be compared with him? Who would put him in their eyes if he lost the title of Archduke of the Ao clan? Ao Xieyun sighed sadly. He hadn't sighed when he had faced the desperate situation of life and death. He hadn't felt disappointed either. But he felt inferior now. I'm inferior. Perhaps the title of Archduke of the Ao clan is my biggest enemy. Ao Xieyun thought in a self-deprecating manner. Gu Duxing and the others had restored their muscles and bones to their original state when they had snatched away Ao Xieyun. They no longer had deliberately changed their appearance. This would make it easier for them to display their strength. Secondly, it would make it easier for Ao Xieyun to recognize them. Otherwise, it wouldn't be good if a misunderstanding were to occur. Whiz whiz whiz, the seven of them moved like a group of meteors. They drew a long trace on the ground as they advanced towards the mountain forest. Meng Luo and the people of the Meng clan were chasing after them with all their might. The experts of the Meng clan who had lagged behind the group had been slaughtered by the experts of the other big clans. Many people had been killed, and only 2 emperor-level experts were left by his side. However, Meng Luo was extremely excited. I have finally snatched away Ao Xieyun. I haven't let down young Lord Ye's great trust. Presumably, young Lord Yi will appreciate me even more, right? I made a prompt and decisive decision to snatch away Ao Xieyun. He is the younger brother of the core and direct descendant of the Ao clan. He has a pure bloodline. He is indispensable for opening the dragon vein of the Tribulation Sword Master's hidden treasure. Such a great merit, I can get a part of the Tribulation Sword Master's hidden treasure this time, right? Moreover, I will have the opportunity to rush into the upper 3 heavens. Meng Luo thought as he ran. He felt that his entire body was brimming with inexhaustible strength. Of course, he also had his own plans. I must call the ancestors of my clan when I go to look for the hidden treasure. And I must bring a few more experts with me. This young Lord Yi looks like a reckless person. But I can't rule out the possibility that he will burn the bridge after crossing the river. However, the first step had been taken in any case. And there was no turning back now that the first step had been taken. I can only brace myself and move forward even if I have to take risks. Who hasn't taken risks since ancient times to achieve great things? This is the so-called, wealth comes from danger. Meng Luo comforted himself in his heart. How can I have a huge harvest without a huge investment? How can I have a glorious future if I don't work hard now? Heaven never bars one's way. New opportunities will inevitably appear in the face of extreme adversity. And they will become even more powerful. Meng Luo's heart was filled with inspirational illusions in an instant. I believe that I, Meng Luo, will become a new legend of the upper 3 heavens in the near future. Who will dare to say that what I did today was wrong after I succeed? Some people will only envy me for having a sharp vision and daring to invest. I have courage and means. The winner is a king and the loser is a bandit. What kind of benevolence, righteousness, and morality is there? This is fucking Jianghu. Meng Luo ferociously cursed in his heart. Then he happily chased in the direction in front of him. However, the troops behind him were getting closer and closer. More than a dozen Emperor-level experts were leading by a wide margin. That third-grade Emperor-level expert of the Meng clan clenched his teeth and shouted, "All King-level experts, stay behind to face the enemy. Today is the moment of life and death for my Meng clan. The young lord has endured humiliation for the sake of the Meng clan. You won't be able to outrun the Emperor-level experts with your speed now. So, sacrifice your lives for the clan. Don't worry everyone. This old man guarantees with his life that your family members will live comfortably. This old man can guarantee that they won't be bullied and humiliated even if the clan is destroyed." The remaining dozen or so king-level experts had already given up all hope. But they suddenly felt as if they had been injected with chicken blood when they heard these words. "Second Elder, don't worry. The Meng clan will be handed over to the young lord. Elder, Please don't forget the promise you made today for the families of our subordinates. They suddenly stopped after they shouted. Then they rushed back with all their might. Every one of them had the posture of perishing together with the enemy. Everyone knew that what the second elder had said was right. Today's situation had already reached the point of no return. So, it would be better to exchange it for the safety of their families. Their families would get the best care as long as the young lord and the second elder could rush out and enter the upper three heavens. Moreover, their children would become the people of the upper three heavens from then on. They would feel at ease even if they were to die. A few loud rumbling sounds were heard along with a few screams. The king-level experts of the Meng clan had launched a suicidal attack. The two emperor-level experts heaved a deep sigh. Then their faces flushed red. They picked up Meng Luo and launched the secret technique of burning their lives at the same time. Their speed increased threefold in an instant. And they chased after Chu Yang and the others like meteors. A trace of ruthlessness flashed through Meng Luo's eyes. He thought, the king-level experts have already died. It's a pity, but I have no other choice. I can only use the name of the clan's future to make these two emperor-level experts desperately block the enemy in order to give me a chance of survival. Everything will be worth it as long as I can escape. How many emperor-level experts can't be found in the upper three heavens? Moreover, those people have been chasing us for such a long time. Everyone must be exhausted. I believe that they won't be able to catch up with us. Moreover, the young lord has the sword emperor, the saber emperor, and that mysterious expert with him. We can't beat the enemy in numbers. But it won't be a problem for us to escape. The experts of the other clans chased after them like the wind. But who would have thought that the Ming clan would suddenly turn around and fight a decisive battle? They were obstructed for a short while. And these king-level experts were dealt with. However, they could only see a boundless mountain forest in front of them. And the people they had been chasing had disappeared without a trace. Tian Bu Hui and the others rushed over while gasping for breath. Their complexions were gloomy to the extreme. Search. At any cost. Tu Qianhao's gaze was vicious. Set fire. Set this entire mountain forest on fire. Odu Xiao was even more vicious. He ordered at the same time. The two emperor-level experts carried Meng Luo and chased for half an hour using the secret technique of burning their lives. Then they finally caught up with Chu Yang and the others. In fact, they hadn't caught up with them. Chu Yang and the others were resting on the summit of the mountain. Young lord. Meng Luo rushed forward in high spirits. He was gasping for breath. Then he chuckled and said, "We didn't disgrace the mission. I finally snatched the pure bloodline of the Ao Shi clan." Tan Tan beamed with a smile. He then said, "You've worked hard." Meng Luo smiled in a free and easy manner. Then he said in a loyal and devoted manner, "It's Meng Luo's honor to work for the young lord. So, how can you say that I've worked hard or not?" He wiped his sweat to show that he had been working hard, even though he had said it in a relaxed manner. So he eagerly asked, "Young lord, what should we do next?" "Well, next, you can go back. You don't have to follow me anymore," Tan Tan casually said. "This what?" Meng Luo couldn't believe his ears. He said while stammering, "Young lord, you must be joking." "Fuck. Joking? Who would be interested in joking with you?" Tan Tan suddenly became angry and said, "I don't even coax you at home. So, why would I be interested in coaxing you to play? Fuck. Don't tell me that you want to get old if you don't leave? Don't burn the bridge after crossing the river? Who do you think you are? Fuck. Bah." Meng Luo's vision turned black. His entire body trembled. Chapter 579. Meng Luo suddenly felt as if he was dreaming. In his dream, someone had said, "Help me with something and I will take you to the heavens." Now he had woken up from his dream. "You lied to me?" Meng Luo looked at Tan Tan with grief and indignation. He felt as if the world was spinning around. His eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. "Lied to you?" Tan Tan replied in a strange manner, "I didn't lie to you. You can only blame yourself for not having a good name. Why did you have to be called Meng Luo?" Fuck. Meng Luo. Meng Luo. In other words, it means that Leduo doesn't exist. I'm helping you. Meng Luo's entire body trembled. He was shaking like a sieve. There were only two words in his heart. It's over. I'm going to die. I'm going to die this time. The Meng clan had a chance to linger on at death's door. But now, there wasn't even the slightest bit of luck left. Meng Luo and the other two were in a daze. They were paralyzed on the ground. Their entire bodies were in despair at this moment. They didn't even have the strength to be angry. That was the true feeling of having one's heart as dead as ash. It seemed as if the world had lost all its colors. Itchy. Do you feel good? I'm very happy to play with people. Tan Tan laughed out loud. It's rare to have such a asterisk to make us feel good. I'll make you itchy. Chu Yang became furious. He kicked Tan Tan. Then Gu Du Xing Dong Wu Shang and the others swarmed forward. They grabbed this second duke of the Yi clan, the number 1 ruling clan of the upper 3 heavens, and ruthlessly ravaged him in front of Meng Luo. Their fists and feet continuously fell on Tan Tan's body. Tan Tan screamed as he was beaten. His body was spinning in the air like a top. Meng Luo's heart was filled with despair. But he still opened his eyes wide in surprise. These people dare to beat up their young lord? They are extremely audacious. Chu Yang had finally vented his anger. He left Tan Tan behind and arrived in front of Meng Luo. Duke Meng, we must take our leave. You can slowly enjoy yourself here. Don't worry. Odu Xiao, Tu Qianhao and the others are your allies. They won't do anything to you, Chu Yang said with a smile. No. You can't abandon me. Meng Luo screamed miserably. He felt his entire body go soft. Allies? Odu Xiao and the others would eat him alive if they saw him. Meng Luo was very sure about this. Looks like Brother O still didn't recognize us. Chu Yang smiled and pulled down his mask. Then he gently smiled and said, Brother Meng, do you recognize me now? Meng Luo felt as if he had seen a ghost. He crawled out of the ground with his hands and feet. It's you? It's you? King of Helchu? How could it be you? Of course it's me. Chu Yang smiled kindly. Gu Du Xing Dong Wu Shang and the others also pulled down their masks and looked at Meng Luo with ridicule in their eyes. It was as if he was looking at a pitiful creature who was extremely greedy. It's you? How could it be you? Meng Luo shouted in grief and indignation. I've seen you before. But your physiques were completely different. How could I not have recognized you if it had been you? Stupid bird. There's one thing I must let you know. There's a martial art in this world called bone shrinking and appearance changing. Don't tell me that you don't know about it. GMO shrugged his shoulders and looked at Meng Luo with infinite contempt. Then he, isn't the second duke of the Yi clan? Meng Luo looked at Tan Tan in despair. However, there was still a glimmer of hope in his eyes. This guy still has such hope even now. He's my junior martial brother. As for the Yi clan, I'm sorry, Chu Yang said in a relaxed manner, we don't know about it. Chu Yang smiled. In fact, I wanted to deal with you. That's all. Do you understand? King of Helchu, how did I offend you? Why did you want to kill me? Why did you want to kill me? You didn't even let my clan off? Meng Luo shouted in grief and indignation. His voice was full of misery, despair, and disbelief. How did you offend me? Aha. Chu Yang sneered. Meng Luo, you've offended me. Let me tell you about your biggest crime. Biggest crime? Meng Luo's face was covered with tears of despair. He raised his head and pondered with great effort. He was really thinking. In fact, he was racking his brains to think. How did I offend such a terrifying person like King of Helchu? How did he make him deliberately scheme to deal with me? From MT Dingjun until now, my clan has been forced into a hopeless situation by him. And it has been consigned to eternal damnation by him. Almost every misfortune of the Meng clan is related to this person's shadow. How did I offend him? He's always in the lower 3 heavens. And I've always been in the lower 3 heavens. So I've never had any contact with him. How did I offend him? Meng Luo's face was perplexed. He pondered hard but couldn't think of anything. In fact, he even thought of the young girls he had raped. But he couldn't think of anything related to Chu Yang. So he finally asked fiercely, how did I offend you? Tell me. There was actually a kind of self-righteous attitude. I didn't offend you. So why are you dealing with me? This is too unfair. Hee. Meng Luo, you've committed atrocities. But it has nothing to do with me. Other people might be afraid of your devil technique. But it's nothing in my eyes. And it's even less worthy for me to be afraid of you. Chu Yang sneered, but what you shouldn't have done the most is that you dared to have designs on Mo Qing Wu. You and your Meng clan were doomed to be destroyed from the moment you proposed marriage to the Mo clan. Chu Yang exposed a sunny smile. He then bared his teeth. Even the chickens and dogs won't be spared. Just because of a woman? Meng Luo opened his eyes wide. You're dealing with me because of such a woman? Moreover, it's a little girl? Yes, I can kill you 100 times for her. Chu Yang's eyes were very cold, including your clan. I understand. Meng Luo lowered his head in a daze. He eventually lay on the ground like a puddle of mud. He didn't even have the strength to stand up. All his hopes and spiritual support had been taken away from him. In fact, he couldn't even think of retaliating against Chu Yang. He only wanted to kill himself. So, it could be seen how disheartened he was. So, you're the one behind all this. You deliberately wanted to save Ao Xie Yun. The two emperor-level experts of the O clan glared at Chu Yang and the others. You want to kill Ao Xie Yun. So, you want to deal with us? Chu Yang kindly smiled and said, of course we want to save him. You. The two emperor-level experts suddenly stood up. Their eyes exposed an ominous glint. Why haven't you taken your young lord and fled? Do you still want to fight with us? Chu Yang sneered, are you really acting recklessly? Don't you care about your clans? You don't want to kill us? The two emperor-level experts palpitated with fear. Why would I want to kill you? Chu Yang indifferently turned around and walked away. My hands are clean. Dong Wuxian carried Ao Xie Yun on his back with a whistling sound. Then the seven of them flew away from the mountaintop like a whirlwind. The two emperor-level experts noticed. These 7 people are moving as fast as lightning. But the trees and bushes aren't swaying in the slightest in the direction they are going. A series of sounds came from all directions behind them. It was obvious that the pursuers were approaching. The two emperor-level experts immediately understood. Chu Yang doesn't have any good intentions. He has been waiting here to vent his anger on Meng Luo. And he has been stalling for time until he has discovered that the pursuers have arrived. So, we can draw away a part of the pursuers for him. This will allow us to escape with ease. The 7 of them didn't dare to disperse in the face of such a huge army of pursuers. After all, someone would have died if they had dispersed. It would have been much safer if they had gathered together. After all, they would have been able to leave as long as they had found the right path. Therefore they had asked Meng Luo to draw away the pursuers. It would have increased the chances of Chu Yang and the others escaping even if they had only drawn away a part of the pursuers. You will die if you don't draw away the pursuers. It could be said that the hatred of those big clans towards the Meng clan had surpassed everything else. So they wouldn't believe anything that was said. Therefore they had to escape even if they didn't want to. And they would have made a contribution to Chu Yang if they escaped. This kind of sullenness was unprecedented since ancient times. They had been deceived by others. They had done something for others. But they had been kicked to the curb after crossing the river. They had been abandoned. But they still had to make a contribution after being abandoned. They could not do it. The two emperor-level experts also wanted to perish together with Chu Yang and the others. But they didn't dare to do so. After all, they still had a huge clan behind them. And they didn't know that it was still in this camp. And this clan would have been annihilated if they couldn't escape. The Meng clan is done for this time. The two emperor-level experts sighed. They felt powerless. Young lord, let's go. We must leave this place as soon as possible and inform the clan. Meng Luo sat down in a daze. He spoke as if he was dreaming. Go? Where should I go? What path can I take? His eyes were filled with a dusky death intention. There wasn't the slightest bit of vitality in them. This Meng Luo had always been proud and arrogant. He should have been one of the 12 influential figures of the next 3 heavens. But he had been beaten down so many times that he had turned into a walking corpse at present. He had no fighting spirit. He had no vitality. In fact, even his most urgent desire to survive had been crushed. He was alive. But he was as good as dead. The two emperor-level experts became anxious in their hearts. The enemy is close at hand. But the young lord has fallen into such depression. The two of them looked at each other and finally made a decision. Then they slapped the back of Meng Luo's neck with a bang. Meng Luo was in a daze. He didn't resist or dodge. Instead he fell down like a wooden stake. An emperor-level expert carried his body on his back and stood up. He was about to escape when he heard an angry voice. I see them over there. The pursuers have arrived. The two emperor-level experts flew in the direction where Chu Yang and the others had left. They were both sullen and angry at the same time. I will drag you down with me even if I die in the end. The pursuers behind them whistled as they chased after them from all over the mountains and plains. Go this way. Chu Yang and the others rushed all the way to the foot of the mountain. Then Chu Yang took the lead and changed his direction. He went towards the southwest at a right angle from his original direction. Don't let these dead people implicate us, Chu Yang mischievously smiled. Let those 3 idiots take the lead. The farther they run, the better. It's very strange today. I sat in front of the computer for the whole day, but I didn't write anything. My train of thought was like a fountain. But I didn't write anything. I just stared at it for the whole day. This is the first update. The rest of the updates will be very late. So I'm specially informing you. I don't want everyone to wait for a long time. You will see a new chapter when you wake up tomorrow morning. Chapter 580. Ao Shiyun's injuries had already recovered under Chu Yang's incomplete heavy elixir. He no longer needed someone to carry him on his back. However, he was somewhat sad and silent along the way. Senior brother, we've played enough. Why don't we just kill him? Tan Tan raised his eyebrows. Wouldn't it be too easy for him if we killed him? Chu Yang rolled his eyes. We still need to keep him alive. First, he can draw away the pursuers for us. Second, we can make those clans consume their strength. Third, the Meng clan is already done for. Wouldn't it be the best punishment for him to witness the destruction of his own clan with his own eyes? You're right. He won't know anything if we kill him. It would be a pity. Luo Kudi proudly explained while rubbing his crotch. Are you in pain? GMO looked at Luo Kudi's crotch with some lingering fear. He couldn't help but scratch his own crotch. He thought, second young master Luo is an idiot. He has been like this for a whole day. My balls hurt just looking at him. But he still looks so happy. How much pain will his lower abdomen get after this? Chu Yang made a gesture while speaking. Everyone bent down in an orderly manner and lay down in the underbrush. They then looked back at the same time. They saw two silhouettes in the distance. They seemed to be carrying a person on their backs. They were fleeing for their lives. Then a large group of people rushed out from behind with a rumbling sound. It looked like a group of ants was chasing two ants from afar. And these two ants were carrying a small ant on their backs. This is fucking cool. Luo Kadi straightened his waist. He sighed and said, this is crazy. They are chasing after him in such a hurry. How much hatred do they have for him? Yes. This little Meng Luo hasn't lived in vain. There are only a few such clans in the three heavens. And all of them are chasing after him to kill him. This is the treatment of a fucking Grand Duke of the Ao clan. Jimo's eyes lit up. It seemed as if he was envious. You're right. They've offended the Ao clan, the Xie clan, the Mo clan, the Dong clan, the Luo clan, the Gu clan, and the Ji clan. Now the O clan, the Black Devil clan, the Tian clan, the Tu clan, the Li clan, and the Zhao clan. Dong Wuxiang counted and couldn't help but jump in fright. He then said, fuck. This Meng Luo Gong has provoked a lot of trouble. How courageous. Second young master Luo Kudi said with admiration. Our big brother is the most courageous one. Ah. You must know that big brother has recruited all these people to deal with the Meng clan. In fact, Meng Luo hasn't done anything. This injustice is truly hard to explain. It's too numerous to write down. GMO clicked his tongue twice and made a conclusion. Take a look at Meng Luo. Those brothers have learned a lesson from their mistakes. You can offend anyone in the future, but don't offend our big brother. Who knows when he'll be like Meng Luo? Don't stare. Second young master Luo, I'm talking about you. Luo Kudi suddenly exploded. He grabbed Meng Luo's neck. Who's Meng Luo? You are Meng Luo. Your whole family is Meng Luo. Everyone laughed. Amidst their carelessness, many people began to search in both directions. Chu Yang smiled. He then got up and said, let's go. These people have already divided into 4 groups. So we won't be afraid even if they catch up with us. Let's go to the Xie clan and look for Xie Dan Xiong. Everyone swept away like a gust of wind and quietly flew out. They went far away in the twinkling of an eye in the dark forest. Ao Xie Yun smiled. He said while walking, Brother Chu, thank you for saving me today. Ao Xie Yun, will certainly repay you generously for this kindness. Chu Yang walked forward. He didn't even turn his head as he insipidly said, oh? How do you want to repay me if that's the case? Ao Xie Yun was startled. He had only said these words for the sake of courtesy. How could he think of how to repay the other party at this time? His heart was in a mess right now. I didn't expect you to repay me for saving you. Chu Yang said in a relaxed manner, I didn't save you because of the general situation or the chaotic situation. Instead, I saved you because they wanted to deal with us. They wanted to shift the blame to us. We would have been in big trouble if you had died. Otherwise, I wouldn't have saved you even if you were the Grand Duke of a great clan of the upper 3 heavens. So, you don't need to thank me. Chu Yang concluded easily, you'll be safe once we reach the Xie clan. I'll send you back to your clan at that time. We'll also be relieved. Aosia Yun smiled and said, You don't care, but this is still a life-saving grace for me. I can't thank you with words. I'm not a long-winded person. So I won't say it. Ah. It's good that you won't say it. GMO came forward and said. Aosia Yun smiled and said, Brother Chu, in fact, I still owe you a favor. Our AO clan isn't stupid. Their shift may not have succeeded. Even if I die, they may not have been able to shift the blame to you. Chu Yang mischievously smiled. I know. I know this better than you. Their shift wouldn't have succeeded if I hadn't saved you. That's because one of the people they wanted to deal with was called Mo Tianji. Aosia Yun smiled bitterly. Mo Tianji may not be so resourceful. Our AO clan isn't stupid either. But Mo Tianji is so resourceful. Chu Yang said affirmatively. Then he looked at him from the corner of his eyes. Of course your AO clan isn't all stupid. But there are quite a few of them. He sneered, You're Aosia Yun, not the AO clan. Even if you die, the AO clan will still be the AO clan. But you've already mentioned the AO clan several times today. What? Are you not confident? Aosia Yun was stunned. Just now, in the depths of his subconscious, he did have this intention. He didn't expect Chu Yang to be so sharp. With Mo Tianji around, their shift wouldn't have succeeded. I saved you just in case. After all, the current Mo Tianji is still too weak. Chu Yang said something that Aosia Yin didn't understand at all. After all, the current Mo Tianji is still too weak? Aosia Yin smacked his lips in his heart for a long time. Gu Du Xing passed by him. Brother Gu, are you really a Sword Emperor now? Aosia Yin asked. Yes, first-grade Sword Emperor, Gu Du Xing said honestly. Oh, Aosia Yun was disappointed. Brother Dong, are you really a Saber Emperor now? Yes, first-grade Saber Emperor by luck. Oh, Aosia Yun's face darkened. GMO, what's your cultivation level now? GMO's face darkened. I'm just a martial king. What's there to ask? Aosia Yun was stunned. You're also a martial king? Little wolf, what are you now? I'm the same as GMO. Damn, this is so embarrassing. When Luo Kudi mentioned this matter, his happiness was immediately destroyed. This is so embarrassing. Aosia Yun felt as if the world was spinning. How old are you this year? A king-level martial artist is so embarrassing? Then I'm a few years older than you, and I'm only a martial king. Isn't that embarrassing? Brother Rui, what about you? Rui Butong said angrily, Are you deliberately making fun of me? I'm an 8th-grade martial king, the weakest one. Aosia Yun's face was full of tears. It's really a bottleneck. This is the second update. It's definitely not going to explode today. I'm currently struggling with one thing. This storm is definitely going to blow up in 3 days. But I'm thinking too much at the moment. I've set up 3 lines for this plot. So I'm indecisive. I've written and deleted tonight. Now I've written 2,000 words. No matter how I write, I feel that something is wrong. Let's discuss it. The first line starts from Mo Tianji. Pros and cons. The second line starts from Chu Yang. Pros and cons. The third line starts from AO clan. Pros and cons. Of course, there's also the possibility of starting from Meng clan or the few clans that are chasing Aosia Yun. I'm not worried about not having anything to write. Instead, I have to write too much. How sad. In the book review and comments section, everyone came to express their opinions and opinions. Chapter 581. Chu Yang smiled. You don't need to ask about me. I'm a king-level expert. Yes, this is my junior brother Tan Tan. He's also a king-level expert. Brother Ao, please advise me when you have time. Advise my ass. Ao Shiyun bit his lips. He had an urge to cry. A group of king-level experts, sword emperors and saber emperors. These were all people who were once as famous as him. There were even a few who weren't as good as him before. Now his king-level expert, he really couldn't take it out. He felt too inferior. Brother Ao, may I ask what's your cultivation level now? GMO rolled his eyes and asked. Sigh. Ao Shiyun sighed. He didn't say anything but he cried first. Miao Badong snorted coldly. He comforted him with schadenfreude. Brother Ao, you don't have to be like this. How much effort did we put in to have our current achievements? How much effort did we put in? We put in. Yes, there were dozens of times every day that we fainted from training. What kind of effort can lead to what kind of results? Actually, you're already very amazing now. This guy has said the exact words that Chu Yang used to provoke him. Motherfucker, who knows how I felt in my heart when I heard these words? It's better to share the joy with others than to share the joy with others. Ao Shiyun's face turned green and white. He lowered his head and hurried on. He didn't speak anymore. After a long time he sighed and said, I, Ao Shiyun, have a surname of Aoyu. Suddenly, a strong sense of unwillingness rose in his heart. If they can do it, why can't I? One day I'll take back this Aoyu. I'll be proud of the world. The leader was always under a lot of pressure but lacked motivation. Now he was the one who was chasing, but he was full of motivation and no pressure. Once Ao Shiyun let go of his pride, he immediately felt full of fighting spirit. First, I want to be Ao Shiyun, the one and only Ao Shiyun. Second, I want revenge. I want to take revenge for my uncles with my own hands. I want to take care of their families to the best of my ability. Third, I want to catch up with them and surpass them. I want to take back my title as the number one of the three heavens. We're all humans. We're all born and raised by our parents. We're all flesh and blood. I refuse to admit defeat. Along the way the group encountered a few more pursuers and battles. Everyone only focused on escaping and did not linger in battle. Ao Shiyun and Miao Badong suffered some injuries, but they finally rushed out. This matter could be traced back to a month ago. After Mo Tianji had single-handedly set off waves in the three heavens, the entire three heavens had already been tossed about by a storm. The O clan, the Meng clan, the Tian clan, and the other clans were on high alert. The Xie clan, the Mo clan, the Dong clan, and the other clans were also on high alert. A great battle was about to break out. That day, Mo Tianji didn't speak for a long time after he had finished discussing with Dong Wu Lei, Luo Ku Wu, Jizhu, and the others. Brother Mo, what are you thinking about? Why are you frowning? Dong Wu Lei admired Mo Tianji's planning. So, he couldn't help but ask when he saw that Mo Tianji was in a dilemma. Everyone has just mentioned that Meng Luo, Tian Bu Hui, Tu Chen Hao, and the others aren't in the clan. So, these people might be the main force in hunting down Ao Xie. I'm thinking about this, how should we deal with it? Mo Tianji solemnly said. We didn't say that these people aren't in the clan, right? Luo Ku Wu scratched his head in bewilderment. That's because the storm is faintly discernible. But it's too calm right now. A battle is a battle. But it's just a dense cloud and not a rain. What kind of battle is this? Mo Tianji softly said, everyone had come here a moment ago. And you all said that the surrounding area was calm and peaceful. So this little brother made a conjecture. It certainly wouldn't be so calm if those people were here. They wouldn't have made any big moves. But there would have been constant small frictions if they hadn't. So, it's clear that it's a group of crafty old foxes who are in charge of this matter. And that group of young ones isn't here. So, where did they go at such an important time if they aren't here? They're not hunting down Ao Xie. And there's nothing else. Those old guys are very mature and prudent. They like to wait and see in everything. They want to preserve their strength. And they can drag out any big matter. So, they can cause several clans to be entangled with hundreds of years of enmity and grudges. But they will never cut the Gordian knot. This is the way any clan handles matters for a long time. But they don't have the sharpness of youngsters. So, I conclude that those people aren't here. Mo Tianji frowned and said, I'm actually thinking about Ao Xie. Ao Xie? Dong Wu Lei frowned. Brother Mo is thinking, whether we should save him or not, right? In my opinion, saving Ao Xie will only bring us benefits and no harm. We should save him. Mo Tianji shook his head deeply. He raised his head and looked at the sky. He pondered for a long time. Then he said, You're wrong? Mo Tianji let out a deep breath. Then he resolutely said, We've been planning for so long. And we've finally made this chaos rise from the inside of the upper three heavens. But the reaction of the big clans is still not strong enough. Ao clan won't be able to swallow so many forces in one fell swoop if Ao Xie doesn't die and the conflicts fade away. And all the big clans will go into seclusion to protect themselves. Moreover, Ao clan will probably treat this as Ao Xie's experience in the Jianghu if he doesn't die. And they won't make a move, then all our arrangements will be in vain. These old guys are too tolerant. Mo Tianji sighed, they only care about the survival and reproduction of their clans. Luo Ku Wu's eyes flickered. He said, So Ao Xie must die? Can't we save him? Ao Xie must die. Otherwise, Ao clan won't be able to get involved in this chaos. Mo Tianji nodded deeply, we can't have any help. Ao Xie may escape alive if we have any help. He sighed and said, Ao Xie is also an outstanding person. I, Mo Tianji, am also reluctant to let such a person die. We must not hesitate when it's time to abandon him. But, this? Luo Kuwu was stunned. We will be the unlucky ones if we succeed in framing him. The corners of Mo Tianji's mouth twitched. He insipidly said, I've already told Xie Danxiong a few days ago. I told him to rush to Ao clan immediately after he has arranged the clan's affairs. And he wants to see Ao Xie Yun. Wants to see Ao Xie Yun? Dong Wu Lei and Luo Kuwu opened their eyes wide. Yes. Wants to see Ao Xie Yun. Mo Tianji smiled. Let Xie Danxiong think of a way to stay in Ao clan until Ao Xie Yun returns if Ao Xie Yun isn't here. In any case, there are only two possibilities if Xie Danxiong wants to leave the Ao clan. The first is that Ao Xie Yun has returned safe and sound. The second is that the news of Ao Xie Yun's death has been transmitted back. But this matter must be done hidden immortal. Wonderful. Dong Wu Lei clapped his hands. Du Xiao wants to shift the blame to Xie Danxiong. But Xie Danxiong is in the Ao clan right now. So, it has nothing to do with him even if Ao Xie Yun were to die 10,000 times. Mo Tianji slightly smiled and nodded. That's right. So, we have to wait patiently for the wind to cool down. The news I want to hear the most is the news of Ao Xie Yun's death. Dong Wu Lei, Luo Kuwu and Ji Zhu slapped the table and applauded. But this matter still lacks something. Mo Tianji frowned and paced back and forth. His brows were tightly knitted. Lack something? Brother Mo, this matter is foolproof. What else can be lacking? Dong Wu Lei had already prostrated himself in admiration. It lacks a little push force. It needs a very strong push force. Mo Tianji frowned. We have already intensified all the contradictions. It's like a 10,000-kilometer prairie where all the green grass has already withered. We only need a little spark at this time to set the prairie ablaze. But where's this spark? But we can't take the initiative to make a move. We'll become passive if we take the initiative to make a move. In fact, it wasn't impossible for them to say that we were the ones with ambition. Therefore we can only accumulate momentum, draw the bow and wait for the trigger. He frowned and pondered hard. Where is the spark? Where is it? How can we make a big fire? How can we make this fire burn uncontrollably and destroy everything? We've already done enough. The entire Jianghu has already begun to shake. We'll immediately arouse suspicion if we make any more moves. But who will set this withered grass on fire for me? Will it set the prairie ablaze? He frowned and paced back and forth. His brows were knitted tighter and tighter. The look of contemplation in his eyes was getting more and more intense. Dong Wu Lei and Luo Kuwu heaved a deep sigh. They looked at each other. They finally realized that their thoughts couldn't keep up with Mo Tianji's rhythm. Mo Tianji's thoughts had already gone beyond a certain category. They had risen to the point of overlooking everything. Mo Tianji stopped his footsteps after a long time. He tightly knitted his brows and muttered, Everything that we've painstakingly built would have been in vain if there's no fire. Don't tell me that Ao Xie Yun's death isn't enough to form this big fire? Dong Wu Lei asked in bewilderment. That's the Ao clan's revenge war. It's completely different from the war of supremacy. The water isn't muddy enough if it's only a war of revenge. We won't be able to take advantage of it. Mo Tianji snorted. I just don't know. When will King of Hell Chu and the others return? Dong Wu Lei muttered. Brother Mo, what's your plan if they've already started by the time they return? Our previous preparations would have been in vain. It won't be in vain, Mo Tianji confidently said. We'll be in an invincible position even if they don't arrive in time. Then Mo Tianji's eyes suddenly lit up. King of Hell Chu? Return? Several thoughts arose in his mind in an instant. Will King of Hell Chu be so? Can it be? Mo Tianji pondered hard. Then he finally said, This? King of Hell Chu is the cause of all these problems. I'm just using him. According to the rules and conventions of the world, he'll inevitably get involved since he's the cause. Therefore, King of Hell Chu shouldn't be able to escape from this big show. It's just karma. Then will this big fire be ignited on King of Hell Chu? Chapter 582. Mo Tianji had guessed correctly. This spark had indeed been ignited by King of Hell Chu. However, it had been several days later than he had expected. Therefore, this master of calculation and manipulation had been so worried that his hair had turned white. Ao clan. The sudden arrival of Xie Danxiong had also surprised the Ao clan. However, he was the Grand Duke of Xie clan, and the future successor. Xie clan was weaker than Ao clan, but they still couldn't be neglected. Therefore, Ao clan's reception was very attentive. The clan lord of Ao clan Ao Tianxing had personally received him. My son will take over Ao clan sooner or later. So, it's only beneficial to make such a big ally for me. Elder Xia haha. How is your father? Ao Tianxing asked kindly. My father is well. Thank you for your concern, Uncle Ao. Xia Danxiong bowed respectfully. He had greeted Ao Tianxing with the etiquette of a junior. He said, this nephew and brother Xia Yun have always been close friends. We even joined hands at MT Dingjun. I haven't seen you for many days and I miss you very much. So I specially came to visit you. Please forgive me. Well, what's wrong with this? Ao Tianxing stroked his beard. He smiled kindly and said, this is a young man who values friendship and righteousness. I have always admired him. It's a great fortune for him to have a friend like you. He pondered for a moment and said, it's just that. Xiao Quan Ao has gone to the northern wilderness. He hasn't returned yet. Xiao Quan Ao? Xia Danxiong's eyes bulged. He was almost shocked by this name. Nephew Xia, you might as well stay here for a few days since you've come. The scenery of Ao clan is excellent. Ao Tianxing smiled and said, besides, Ao has been gone for several months. He should be on his way back now. Maybe he'll come back after a few days. You can play together when the time comes. This nephew will disturb uncle for a few days if that's the case. I'll also listen to uncle's teachings. Xia Danxiong took advantage of the situation and agreed. Xia Danxiong immediately stayed at Ao clan's residence without any trace of politeness. He ate fish and meat every day, delicacies of all kinds. Ao Xia Yun had stayed for more than 10 days. But Ao Xia Yun still hadn't returned. Ao clan had already felt that something was wrong. Why hasn't he come back? Xia Danxiong stayed for a few more days. Then he proposed to take his leave. He said that he wasn't feeling well. Ao Qinxing cordially urged him to stay and asked the family doctor to visit him. Xia Danxiong had no choice but to agree to stay for 3 more days. However, Xia Danxiong suddenly fell into a coma the next morning after the discussion. In fact, he was on the verge of death. The doctor was shocked when he saw Xia Danxiong's condition. He hurriedly reported it to the family head, Ao Qinxing. Ao Qinxing came to take a look and saw that Xia Danxiong's entire body was bruised. His eyeballs were almost popping out of their sockets. His inner breath was in a mess. His dantian was ruptured, and his meridians were on the verge of collapse. Ao Qinxing was startled. If this young lord of the Xia clan were to die in his own home, then he would be very happy. The Ao clan immediately summoned all the divine doctors and experts to treat Xia Danxiong's injuries. However, no matter how they looked, they could only frown, shake their heads, and sigh helplessly. He could only use his vitality to temporarily prolong Xia Danxiong's life. Other than that, there was no other way. Ao Tianxing immediately regretted his actions. 2 days ago he said he was going to leave, so he let him go. But now he was hanging on. Uncle Ao, you don't have to worry. I've had this disease since I was young, and there's no cure. Xia Danxiong comforted him weakly. I only need one expert, to inject a little vitality every day for a period of time, and I'll be fine. How long is a period of time? Ao Qinxing asked anxiously. However, Xia Danxiong's head tilted to one side. He had already fainted. Ao Qinxing was speechless. A period of time? Fuck. Little brat, a day is also a period of time. A year is also a period of time. A generation is only a period of time. However, he was already unconscious. What should he do? Ao Qinxing went out with a belly full of depression. Time passed day by day. Xia Danxiong was still unconscious. There was still no news of Ao Xia Yun. The atmosphere in the Ao clan was getting heavier and heavier. A month had already passed. Seeing that other clans and some loose cultivators had already returned one after another, and news from various sources kept coming in, the Ao clan finally couldn't bear it anymore. So, they sent people to receive them. They went out in waves to receive and inquire. However, it was like a clay ox entering the sea. There wasn't the slightest bit of news. Therefore, Ao Qinxing became impatient. The Ao clan simply mobilized a large force, and searched in the direction of the northern wilderness. No one knew the importance of Ao Xia Yun to the Ao clan. During this period of time, even ordinary people could feel the pressure of the 3 days. It was like an extremely hot summer day. There wasn't a trace of wind in the sky, and dark clouds were pressing down on the top of their heads. It was so hot that everyone was sweating profusely. However, the rainstorm that had been brewing for a long time didn't come down. Everyone's hearts, even though they were lying on the ground with nothing to do, were still beating anxiously. Moreover, this oppression was getting heavier and heavier. It was pressing down on everyone's heart from the sky. It was suffocating to death. It was suffocating to death. Everyone knew that it would be a destructive storm once the situation was broken. However, everyone would rather choose destruction when this oppression had reached an unbearable level. They would rather choose a violent storm to break this oppression. Another month passed. Everyone was anxious and restless. They couldn't sit or stand still. However, the atmosphere that had been extremely oppressive for these 3 days suddenly exploded. A piece of news spread throughout the 3 days like a bolt from the blue. The O clan, Tu clan, Black Devil clan, Meng clan, and Tian clan were originally comrades in the alliance. The O clan, Black Devil clan, and Tian clan had slaughtered all the experts of the Meng clan who had accompanied them on this mission. This included the Meng clan's Grand Duke, Meng Luo, 2 Emperor-level experts, and all the king-level and revered martial artists. These big clans' eyes had turned red after they had returned. They had slaughtered the people of the Meng clan who had been laughing and chatting merrily in the alliance. Then they had led their army to the south. They had killed all the men, women, and children of the Meng clan. The old ancestor of the Meng clan, Meng Tianyu, was a middle-grade emperor-level expert. He had been in closed-door training. However, he had been forced out by Meng Tianyu. Then all the emperor-level experts of the big clans had swarmed over. Meng Tianyu had attacked back with grief and indignation. However, the big clans had dispatched their old ancestors at the most critical moment. They were all high-level martial emperors. They had killed their old masters with their fists. Then they had killed Meng Tianyu on the spot. The Meng clan had been burned to the ground. All the people who had participated in this battle, especially the ones who were in charge of the offensive, the Tu clan, the O clan, the Black Devil clan, and the Tian clan, had attacked with red eyes. They were ready to fight. This situation was as if the Meng clan had collectively dug up the ancestral graves of these clans. Then they had raped all the female relatives of these clans. This was a bitter and deep hatred. They couldn't live under the same sky. Their methods were ruthless. They were merciless. They were cruel. They were cruel. They were brutal. They were something that had never happened in the three heavens. This massacre of an entire clan had happened in broad daylight. It had happened in broad daylight. It had bathed in the sunlight of the universe. It had happened openly, without the slightest scruple. There had been no concealment. A big clan had been removed from the list. The entire Meng clan had been uprooted by these big clans. Men, women, young and old. This included all their in-laws and all their collateral relatives. These big clans had gone crazy. The death toll of this war had exceeded 100,000 people. This news had shocked all the big clans of the three heavens like a thunderbolt in a clear sky. Who would have thought that this unspeakable oppression would be broken by an internal strife? There had been a split in the alliance. The Meng clan had brazenly challenged all the other clans. Even Mo Tianji's eyes had suddenly popped out of their sockets when he had heard this news. The cup in his hand had fallen to the ground with a bang, and had been smashed to pieces. Then he had pinched his thighs and arms until they were bruised. He had finally believed that he wasn't dreaming. Even Mo Tianji had such a reaction. So, it was easy to imagine the reactions of other people. The big clans hadn't said a word. So no one knew the reason behind this incident. But everyone was whispering and speculating. The Meng clan had suffered such an extermination blow. What kind of heaven-defying, and heaven-striking thunderbolts had done to provoke the crazy wrath of so many clans? The Meng clan is too bold, right? Motherfucker. They were already on the opposite side of 7 or 8 big clans. But they still had the courage to offend all their allies at this time? They shouldn't have been so stupid. Why did they do this? There were many different opinions in the three heavens. One person said, "There's no doubt about this matter. Meng Luo must have raped the young girls of all the big clans. And he must have provoked public anger." Another person retorted, "Nonsense. That's impossible. You don't understand the aristocratic clans. The big clans wouldn't be so decisive over this matter. Meng Luo definitely wouldn't have raped the young girls." He spoke resolutely and decisively. But he then doubtfully said, "Perhaps Meng Luo's father had taken the mistresses of these big clans to his bed?" Everyone felt that this matter was very likely. Another person interrupted, "That's reasonable. As the saying goes, if the upper beam is crooked, the lower beam will be crooked. But the lower beam is crooked. So it means that the upper beam is crooked. Meng Luo likes to rape young girls. Perhaps his father likes to rape. That. Many people nodded. That's reasonable. So, the alliance of the big clans must have given this old pervert an opportunity. Haven't you seen him enjoying himself in the alliance? It's said that the mistresses of the big clans are old. But they must have been very charming. Haven't you heard that people say that the older they are, the more chewy they are? Then everyone sighed at the same time. Meng Luo's father could have died in such a way. He would have died a romantic death. But it was unwise to implicate the entire clan. But then someone retorted, what do you know? A man's lust comes to him. He doesn't care about the clan. Then everyone pondered for a while. They then put themselves in Meng Luo's shoes and nodded one after another. It wasn't known where these words had come from. But it seemed that someone had deliberately spread them. So the more it spread, the fiercer it became. And it slowly became an uproar. Chapter 583. While the storm was brewing in the lower three heavens, an earth-shattering event had also happened in the lower three heavens. The Iron Cloud Empire had finally unified the world and dominated the lower three heavens. Even the grassland wolves of the northern frontier had surrendered. The lower three heavens had become the territory of the Iron Cloud Empire. Tai Budian had finally ruled the world. All the land under the heavens belonged to the emperor. All the people on the land were the emperor's subjects. While the whole nation was celebrating, the emperor had only sent Tai Longcheng as a representative to celebrate with the world. And he himself had not come out from the palace. The Empress Wu Qianshan was about to give birth. The emperor could not leave. After this news was spread, the whole nation rejoiced. Not only did no one say anything, but everyone had always thought that the emperor was loyal and righteous, and was a rare good man in the world. For Iron Cloud Empire to have such a monarch was the fortune of the world and the fortune of all its citizens. Some people also noticed that although the prince of the Iron Dragon realm was celebrating with the officials, his eyes often looked in the direction of the palace involuntarily. There was a trace of anxiety and uneasiness in his eyes. It seemed that he could not wait to leave this place and return to the palace. In the palace, Lan Meixian was anxiously guarding outside the delivery room. She kept pacing back and forth, her face full of anxiety and heartache. Moaning sounds came from the delivery room, as if it was forcibly suppressing. On one side sat a handsome couple. The man was gentle and elegant, while the woman was graceful and luxurious. They looked like a couple of immortals. Lan Meixian kept sighing and pacing back and forth. Finally she said, Rulin, are the midwives you brought from the upper three heavens useful? Fei Ling, I don't want to criticize you, but what good midwives do you have in the Chu clan? Didn't I tell you to go to the Lan clan to find Granny Cui? You didn't listen. Now your Chu clan has sent 5 midwives, but why haven't they come out after half a day? What are these midwives doing? This couple was Yang Rulin and Chu Fei Ling. It turned out that Lan Meixian was still worried about the midwives in the palace. She was also worried that the secret would be leaked. Lan Meixian immediately sent a message to Yang Ruolan. Then Yang Ruolan and Chu Feiling personally brought the midwives down. Yang Ruolan smiled and said, Master, you don't have to worry. The people I've brought along are all experienced and powerful. Besides, I've already checked. Junior sister's fetus is in the right position. So there won't be any accidents. She found it a little funny. The midwife of the Lan family was of course good, but if her master didn't go, how could she and her husband invite her? That was the Lan family. But why is it taking so long? Lan Meixian was extremely anxious. Master, there's something you don't know. Yang Ruolan found it hard to say. It's not that easy for a woman to give birth to a child. When I gave birth to my child, I also spent a full day and night in extreme pain. Speaking up to hear, he couldn't help but feel dejected. Thinking about her missing child, she was overcome with grief and her eyes turned red. Chu Feiling hurriedly comforted him. Chu Feiling was a little restless. He wouldn't have come this time if he wasn't worried that his beloved wife would have an accident when she went out alone. How could his wife's junior sister give birth to a child while he, the senior brother-in-law, sits outside and waits? That damned king of hell Chu, Lan Meixian said angrily, he stirred up trouble and left just like that. That bastard. How much grievance and pain has Tian Tian suffered because of him? Now his child is about to be born at such an important time. But he's nowhere to be seen. She heavily stomped her foot. This is really infuriating. Yang Ruolan smiled bitterly and thought, that person doesn't know anything. How can he appear here? The moaning sound inside suddenly became louder. Then the voice of the midwife was heard. Endure it. Don't exert yourself now. You have to accumulate your strength. Otherwise you won't have any strength when the child is born. That won't be good for the child. Won't be good for the child. This sentence seemed to have infinite power. Tai Butian's voice immediately became softer. She could only be heard taking deep breaths to accumulate her strength. My poor disciple. Lan Meisien sat down on a chair and covered her face with her hands. She couldn't help but shed tears. I don't know what your senior owes that man. She's sacrificing so much for him. She sat for a while. Then she stood up again. She sat down again and stood up again. Finally she walked to the front of the portrait of the Empress and knelt down piously. Mother, I Lan Meisien have never believed in ghosts or gods. But I believe in you now. I'm willing to worship the Empress for a lifetime as long as you can help Tian Tian give birth to a child. May I be struck by lightning if I violate this oath. Yang Ruolan's eyes were somewhat moist. Her master Lan Meisien had always been strong and stubborn. She had never married. She had always been proud and aloof. She had never respected the heavens or feared ghosts or gods. But she was now praying so piously for her disciple. It could be seen that her heart was in chaos. On the other side, Wu Qianqian had already knelt in front of the portrait of the Empress. She didn't know how long she had been kneeling for. But she was praying in her heart. You must give birth to a healthy child. Mother will be safe. The moaning sound inside the room suddenly became louder again. It seemed as if it couldn't suppress the pain. Lan Meisien banged her head on the ground. She was in extreme pain and heartache. She suddenly turned her head and said, Roland NP? Can't she use her vital energy to give birth to a child? So painful. Tian Tian. How can she bear it? Yang Ruolan revealed an embarrassed look on her face and said, Master, you don't know. Even a supreme expert has to pass through this hurdle when giving birth to a child. This has nothing to do with vital energy. She'll be no different from an ordinary woman at this moment, no matter how great her cultivation is. Sigh. Lan Meisien turned her head in disappointment. She kowtowed on the ground and prayed piously. Bear with it a little longer. Bear with it a little longer. It'll be done soon. It'll be done soon. The midwife's gentle voice was comforting her. Her voice seemed to have the power to calm people's hearts. Tai Butian was moaning in pain in the inner room. Her complexion was deathly pale. Then it turned red after a while. Her hands were tightly grasping the edge of the bed. Blood was seeping out from her fingernails. Don't worry. It'll be fine. It's just that this is your first time giving birth to a child. The child is very healthy. It's up to you now. You must hold on. The midwife kept comforting her. Tai Butian nodded weakly. Her eyes emitted a resolute look. She said in a low voice, My child will be born safely. Finally, the outside couldn't bear it any longer. Good. Harder. Harder. Yes. It's coming out. It's coming out. The child is coming out. Wah Enpit, a loud and clear cry of a baby was heard. It seemed as if a wisp of golden sunlight had pierced through the dark clouds in the sky. Tai Butian finally relaxed after hearing this heavenly cry. She exposed a happy and relieved smile at the corners of her mouth. Then she fainted from exhaustion. My child with him, has been born. Everyone's body shook as this cry spread. They exposed an ecstatic look on their faces. How's the child? How's the Lord? Lan Meisien hastily asked in a loud voice. Very good. Both are very good. One is fat and one is small. Mother is safe. Even experts like Lan Meisien, Chu Feiling and Yang Ruolan felt a sense of exhaustion when these four words mother is safe were heard. It seemed as if all the strength in their bodies had been consumed in this silent cry. But their hearts had finally settled down. God bless. Lan Meisien knelt down in front of the Empress portrait in ecstasy. She kowtowed as if she was pounding garlic. Thank you, Empress. Thank you for being so good. From now on, Lan Meisien will worship you day and night. I will burn incense all year round. Thank you, Empress, for making my sweet mother safe. Chu Feiling and Yang Ruolan looked at each other. They both saw that the rims of each other's eyes were red. Lan Meisien calmed down after a long time. She stood up, picked up the teacup and drank a mouthful of tea. She wiped her tears and said with an embarrassed smile, You two little girls. You've angered me to death. But you've also worried me to death. I'd rather bleed than cry. I've only cried twice in my life. And it's all because of you two disappointing little girls. She wiped her tears again. Then she said in a somewhat angry tone, The first time was when you gave birth. I stayed on the roof of your Chu clan for a night. And I shed tears for you the whole night. The second time was because of this infuriating little girl. You ruined my child and didn't even let me know about it. You only knew how to bear it by yourself. Alas, master. Yang Ruolan's face was streaked with tears. Wu Qianqian had been dumbstruck when she had heard the cry of the baby. Then she seemed to have woken up from a dream. She frantically kowtowed to the statue a few times. Then she jumped up and ran towards the delivery room. Don't go in, Yang Ruolan quickly grabbed her. You can't go in now. What? This? You can't go in because you can't go in, Lan Meixian reprimanded her with a smile. The baby will be carried out in a while. Why are you in such a hurry? How can you casually barge into this delivery room? You're such an ignorant little girl. Wu Qianqian's face turned red. She was somewhat embarrassed. The sound of water splashing could be heard inside. It seemed as if someone was bathing the baby. A gentle sound of footsteps was heard after a while. Then a benevolent-looking midwife came out with a small swaddle in her arms. She smiled as she walked. It's very strange. I've delivered so many babies. Most of them have their eyes closed when they're born. But this little guy is different. His two black eyes are wide open and they're rolling around. I don't know what he can see, another midwife behind her said with a smile. He's so young. He won't be able to see anything even if his eyes are open. He'll need at least a day to open his 7 orifices. Then he'll be able to see something. That's why it's so strange. Really? Everyone scrambled to surround the baby. They cautiously moved closer to take a look. They saw a dense crowd of heads above the swaddle. Chapter 584. So pretty, Lan Meixian said. Wu Qianqian pursed her lips. Why is this baby a little wrinkled all over? He looks like an old man. To think that Master Lan could actually say the word pretty? Wu Qianqian didn't know that newborns were all like this. The baby in front of her was already very smooth. At this moment she suddenly heard Yang Ruolan moaning softly. Her body was on the verge of collapsing. Lan Meixian was quick to react. She supported her and said, Ruolan, what's wrong? Yang Ruolan opened her eyes. She was a little confused. Then she looked at the baby and said dejectedly, I'm fine. Chu Feiling also noticed the abnormality. He rushed forward to support his wife. He asked repeatedly, What's wrong? Are you not feeling well? Yang Ruolan looked at the baby in swaddling clothes. After a long time she weakly repeated, I'm fine. However, a feeling of perilous waves suddenly rose in her heart. When she saw Tai Budian, although they were very close, she clearly knew that she was her junior sister. But when she saw this little baby, a feeling of blood connection suddenly rose in Yang Ruolan's heart. It was as if this little baby in front of her was the closest person to her. This feeling was very mysterious. Moreover, Yang Ruolan had a vague feeling. Why does this baby look so similar to my baby when he was just born? Then she smiled bitterly and shook her head. All newborns in the world are very similar. When they just come out of the mother's womb they are all wrinkled all over. How can you tell whose face they look like at this time? It's simply impossible. At least a few days later, the baby's skin will slowly relax and become round and smooth. Only then can you see the rough outline of the baby. Looks like I've really gone crazy from missing my son. After looking for a while and reporting the good news, the midwives hurriedly carried the baby in again. Because Tai Budian had already woken up and was anxiously waiting for the baby. When the midwives carried the baby in, Tai Budian actually sat up with strength that she didn't know where she got it from. The few midwives were so frightened that they shouted, Don't, quickly lie down. My great-grandmother. How can you sit up now? Finally, she held the child in her arms. Tai Budian looked at the tender face in her arms and couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction as if she owned the whole world. A feeling of extreme happiness spread uncontrollably from the bottom of his heart. This kind of happiness and satisfaction far surpassed the sense of accomplishment of unifying the world. It was as if the entire world was not as important as this little person in his arms. Jiang, do you know? Our child was born. It's a boy. Looking at the baby's tender little face, Tai Budian couldn't help but lean forward and kiss him gently. Her heart was full of tenderness. I will take good care of him. I will educate him well so that when he grows up, he will be even more outstanding than you. She paused and suddenly changed her tone. No, I don't want him to be more outstanding than you. I just want him to live a peaceful and happy life without any disasters, even if he's not that outstanding. Yang Ruolan foolishly looked in the direction of the inner chamber as she watched the midwife carry the baby inside. She was absent-minded, and felt as if her heart had become empty. What's wrong? Chu Fei-ling sensitively felt his wife's abnormality and asked with concern. Everyone had gathered around to take a look just now. Chu Fei-ling didn't have the nerve to go closer. He only glanced from afar and didn't see clearly. Nothing. Yang Ruolan weakly snuggled in her husband's arms. She thought of the strange feeling just now. She opened her mouth but didn't say anything in the end. I'll stay here for a while. I'll take a good look at the baby when he's a month old and has grown up. Junior sister's baby is so cute. Yang Ruolan whispered enviously. Chu Fei-ling's heart ached. He knew that his wife was thinking of his son. He couldn't help but sigh. Lan Meixian kept asking, "Is it okay? Can I go in? Can you let me go in first?" After a long while the inside was tidied up. The midwife finally came out and reported, "You can go in. But be careful. Walk lightly and don't make any sound." Lan Meixian was already impatient. She slowly floated in like a ghost. Not to mention the sound of the wind, she didn't even make any dust. Chu Fei-ling rubbed his forehead. He was speechless. Is it necessary? Just to not make any sound, she mobilized all her martial power to launch the great feather mental cultivation method. Yang Ruolan weakly took 2 steps back. Her eyes were fixed on the inner chamber. She didn't even blink. Her soul had flown out of her body. It was unknown what she was thinking about. She unconsciously took 2 steps back and sat down. If it weren't for Chu Fei-ling's sharp eyes and quick hands, she would have sat directly on the ground. In the inner chamber, Lan Meixian nervously rubbed her hands. Tian, does it still hurt? It doesn't hurt anymore. Tai Bu Tian gently shook her head. The baby in her arms restlessly stretched out his hands and kicked his legs. His small black eyes rolled around. He seemed to be very intelligent. Tai Bu Tian couldn't help but smile warmly. She said, "Master, look at him. He's so naughty." Lan Meixian also smiled. She slowly sat on the edge of the bed and looked at the child. Then she sighed and said, "This little bastard is hurting my good disciple to death. Wait until he grows up. This old woman will ruthlessly spank his ass." "You're not allowed." Tai Bu Tian glared. Lan Meixian smiled. "Look at how nervous you are. Look, you're so protective of him and spoiling him. I think you're the emperor. You're spoiling him too much." Since ancient times, a loving mother has spoiled her son. Tai Bu Tian rolled her eyes. She said somewhat willfully, "So what? I have plenty of family properties to spoil him." Lan Meixian was speechless. She grabbed the little guy's hand and said with a smile, "Let me see how this little guy's physique is first. Your senior sister's baby only has an above-average physique. Let me see what kind of child your exquisite ice heart can give birth to." Tai Bu Tian pursed her lips and smiled. She said, "I'll take whatever physique he has. I'm a little worried now. If his physique is good, I'm afraid I'll have to roll around in Jianghu in the future. Alas, how dangerous would that be?" Lan Meixian rolled her eyes and said, "Don't you want your son to become a matchless powerhouse?" Tai Bu Tian slowly shook her head. "I only want him to be safe. Everything is enough." "You're really useless," Lan Meixian scolded with a smile. Then she carefully poured her vitality into the baby's body. Suddenly her complexion changed. Her face turned red as she muttered, "There's something wrong with his meridians." "Ah?" Tai Bu Tian was startled. She immediately became anxious. "Master? What's wrong? Is it serious? How can his meridians be so wide?" Lan Meixian sucked in a breath of cold air. "I've seen many children. How can this one be so monstrous?" Then her complexion changed again. And it turned deathly white. Strange. Lan Meixian frowned. She had a pensive look on her face. It's somewhat similar to the legendary Iron Blood Loyal Heart physique. But it seems to be higher. I'm not sure. I've never seen such a physique. Then, is it good or bad? Tai Bu Tian asked nervously. Of course it's good. It's so good that it can't be better. Lan Meixian raised her head in a daze. She sized up the iron-cloud imperial palace all around. Then she muttered, "Could it be that the inside of this imperial palace is a place with good feng shui? How can so many monstrous physiques appear here? This child's physique? I can't understand it." Lan Meixian solemnly said, "But it's no small matter. You mustn't spread this news. Otherwise..." Tai Bu Tian nodded, "I know, master." She beamed with joy as she looked at this little person. Then she lovingly said, I didn't expect this little guy to be so extraordinary. He's worthy of being his father's son. Lan Meixian's complexion darkened. She snorted in an unfriendly manner. Then she softly said, "Are you still in pain?" "I'm not in pain anymore." Tai Butian strangely looked at her master. "Take that medicinal pill that is hanging in front of your chest," Lan Meixian urged. "Pill?" Tai Butian was surprised. "What pill?" "That pill that's hanging on your neck." Lan Meixian was somewhat anxious. "Hurry up. A woman giving birth to a child is like passing through the gates of hell. She has experienced life and death. It's a good opportunity for you to change your physique. Take that pill now. Hurry up. It'll be too late by the time your body recovers." "Change my physique." Tai Butian touched the purple crystal bottle on her chest. She was somewhat reluctant to part with it. "Yes. Hurry up." Lan Meixian anxiously said, "You used to have the icy heart physique. But the icy heart physique disappeared without a trace after you lost your virginity. But it's a good opportunity for you to rebuild your body after giving birth. Moreover, you have a miraculous medicine in your hand. You may become the first person in history to have the icy heart physique and jade bones physique once you take it. Hurry up." "But what about the child?" Tai Butian was somewhat unwilling. Ruolan, you take care of the child first," Lan Meixian called out. Yang Ruolan immediately rushed in as if she had heard the heavenly voice. She had been waiting for such a call for too long. Under Lan Meixian's urging, Tai Butian finally took out the heavy pill. But she still didn't take it immediately. She said, "Master, are you sure that this pill alone can? This is a heavy pill." "Silly child." Lan Meixian saw that she was still hesitating. She became anxious. "This is a rare heavy pill. If this pill can't change your physique, then no one else in the world can change your physique. I don't know what kind of luck you have. You've actually met the divine dragon-like master of tribulation sword. You're really lucky. The divine dragon-like master of tribulation sword?" Tai Butian exclaimed. Suddenly huge waves rolled in her heart. Her mind was in a mess. She couldn't extricate herself. She had mixed feelings for a moment. Chu Yang is actually the master of tribulation sword? No wonder, no wonder. Tai Butian muttered. No wonder Chu Yang is so powerful. No wonder Chu Yang has advanced so quickly. No wonder he can turn the situation around. No wonder he can defeat Diwu Qingro. But she was startled for a moment. Then she suddenly grabbed Lan Meixian's hand. "Master, this matter can't be spread out." She was a talented emperor of a generation. How could she not know the importance of this matter? She immediately sensed the danger Chu Yang was in after she realized it. Chapter 585. Lan Meixian smiled and said, "Don't worry. I know the severity of the matter. I won't spread it. No one is allowed to." Tai Butian said resolutely and solemnly, "As long as you agree, I will take it immediately. But if Master were to say it out loud, even if you were to say it to another person, this disciple would have no choice but to die immediately." Lan Meixian took 2 steps and said, "As long as you promise me that you will cultivate the icy heart jade bone to the peak, I will promise you." "Good." Tai Butian opened the purple crystal bottle without hesitation. She took out the elixir and stuffed it into her mouth without even looking at it. Her eyes were shining. "Master, don't forget your promise." "This child. How can I go back on my word?" Lan Meixian didn't realize that her disciple had put a curse on her. She immediately helped Tai Butian up. She placed one hand on her back and the other hand on her head. She said, "Eliminate all distracting thoughts and circulate your energy to digest the elixir. Don't think about anything else." Tai Butian was just about to speak when she felt a wave of heat rising from her danton. In an instant, the pain all over her body actually disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. Then, an extremely comfortable feeling spread through her limbs and bones at the same time. At the same time, a surge of spiritual energy surged into her back and entered her dantian. Then, it spiraled up with that spiritual energy. A spiritual energy shrouded her from the top of her head. When the 3 forces came into contact, they suddenly scattered into thousands of spiritual energy flows. Tai Butian immediately felt that her whole body seemed to be changing slightly. Then all the changes gathered together and turned the world upside down. After a long time, Lan Meixian fell back with a thud and fainted. She had used up all her energy to help Tai Butian change her physique this time. If she didn't cultivate for a month or so, she wouldn't be able to recover. Tai Butian was sweating all over. Her body was oily and she didn't know what had seeped out. But she felt that her body had completely recovered. Her whole body felt light as if it was about to fly. Moreover, there seemed to be many more profound insights in her mind. She propped herself up and found that she was fine. It just so happened that there was a shortage of hot water in preparation for the birth. She immediately ordered the hot water to be transported in. She washed her body properly and stood up. She immediately felt that she was very different. Lan Meixian woke up. Her body was weak but her spirit was extremely excited. She grabbed Tai Buqian's hand and checked it. She laughed happily and said, "Good. Good. I Lan Meixian finally have a successor to my mantle. 100 meridians opened, Dantian blue sea, exquisite ice heart, crystal clear jade bones, all in one." Her eyes were burning. Tiantian, you must cultivate diligently. The current you has basically swept away all the obstacles in your cultivation. You're standing at the peak of frozen heart jade bone. You must not disappoint this gift from the heavens. She paused for a moment and said, "Only when you become strong, will you be able to better protect your child. You may be the emperor of the lower three heavens, but you need to know that the upper three heavens will not take care of your son just because you are the emperor." Tai Buqian's heart shuddered as he replied, "I understand." Lan Meixian smiled in a gratified manner and said, "I will take Qian Qian back to the upper three heavens when the child is 1 month old. You take good care of the child and cultivate well. You must also go up when the time is right. The upper three heavens is where geniuses like you should stay." Tai Budian was non-committal, her gaze somewhat perplexed. After a long while Tai Budian said slowly, "Let Qian Qian in. I want to have a chat with her." Lan Meixian nodded and walked out. Not long after, Wu Qianqian walked in gently. "You're looking for me?" Tai Budian looked at her with a complicated gaze. After a long while he said, "Have you decided?" Wu Qianqian lowered her head and said softly, "Yes." Tai Budian heaved a long sigh of relief and said, "Good. Tomorrow I will issue an imperial edict. Empress Wu Qianqian has died in childbirth. The whole nation will mourn." Wu Qianqian was silent for a long time. Then she said softly, "I'm worried." She sighed and said, "I'm worried about both." Tai Budian smiled and said, "Worried? Ah. Qianqian, if you see him, don't tell him about this." Her expression became serious at the end of her words. Wu Qianqian bit her lips until they turned pale. After a long while she said, "Okay." Tai Budian smiled. "Qianqian, what do you think about calling this child Tai Yang?" Tai Yang? Yang as in the sun? Wouldn't that be the same name? Tai Yang as in the sky-drilling poplar, a steel-like sky-drilling poplar. It has no branches and grows straight. It bathes in the sun and reaches the sky. Tai Budian said slowly and heavily, "Tai Yang is the only successor of the Iron Cloud Empire. He will be the future overlord of the world." Her eyes flashed and shot out the brilliance of a sovereign. She said in a deep voice, "I must conquer an iron country for my son. Long live." Outside, Yang Rulan was holding the child. She couldn't bear to let him go. She felt more and more warmth in her heart. That feeling of blood connection made her unable to let go of the child after she held him. "This is the first time I've seen you like someone else's child so much," Chu Feiling said with a smile. "Carry him and see," Yang Rulan suddenly said. Chu Feiling took the child very carefully and hugged his warm and soft little body in his arms. The little child seemed to be grinning happily. Chu Feiling was almost conquered by this smile in an instant. A strange feeling suddenly shot into his heart like a bolt of lightning. Chu Feiling's whole body trembled. He couldn't help but murmur, "What a cute little guy. I feel like he's a member of my Chu clan." Yang Rulan's whole body trembled violently. Her phoenix-like eyes opened wide. She said in a trembling voice, You also have this feeling?" At this moment Lan Meixian walked out. "Rulan, I have to wait for a month before I can go back. You and Feiling can go back first if you have something to do." "It's okay. Master will accompany you. We'll go back together after a month," Yang Rulan said hurriedly. "All right." Lan Meixian nodded. "I'll take a rest first to recover my primary power. I've used up all my primary power today." She walked away after she said this. Yang Rulan's heart was surging with emotions. "I have this feeling and my husband also has this feeling. What does this mean? Why do I have this feeling? What?" She stood there in a daze. Tai Budian had already walked out. She took the child from Chu Feiling's arms and thanked them with a smile. "Thank you, senior sister and senior sister's husband. I've really troubled you this time." Why did you walk out now? Yang Rulan asked anxiously. It's fine. Tai Budian chuckled. If senior sister and brother-in-law have nothing to do, why don't you stay here for a few more days? Okay. Yang Ruolan didn't wait for Chu Feiling to reply to this request. The next day, Iron Cloud Empire issued 2 imperial decrees at the same time, shocking the world. The Grand Elder of the Iron Cloud Empire was born. His Majesty the Emperor personally gave him the name Tai Yang. He was bestowed the position of Grand Elder, and was confirmed as the successor of the Iron Cloud Empire. Amnesty for the world, the entire nation rejoiced. The Empress of the Iron Cloud Empire, Wu Qianqian, was born due to dystocia. She was posthumously conferred the title of Loyal, Filial, Benevolent, Righteous, and Xiaowu Empress, the only mother of the nation. The Seven-Sun Nation mourned, buried in the imperial mausoleum, the entire nation mourned. These 2 pieces of news, one happy and one sad, shocked the world. Half a month later, bad news came from the Iron Cloud Empire. The master of Butian Pavilion, King of Hell Chu, had a relapse of his old injuries. He died the night before yesterday. He was posthumously conferred the title of First Prince with a different surname. The entire nation mourned. When the 3rd imperial decree was issued, no one knew that Tai Budian had held the imperial seal in her hand and sat in front of the imperial decree in a daze for a long time. When the imperial seal finally fell with a loud bang, 2 drops of tears flowed out of Tai Butian's eyes. Day after day passed. The child's skin had fully grown. His whole body was tender and tender. His white skin was tinged with rosy. He was extremely lovable. Yang Ruolan came to see him several times a day. The more she looked, the more her heart palpitated. After the child's face had grown, the more Yang Ruolan looked at him, the more it overlapped with the image of her son in her memory. That was her only son. She would recall him several times a day over the past few years. In her dreams, her son seemed to be in her arms. How could that memory not be deep? On this day, Yang Ruolan's mind flashed. She remembered King of Hell Chu, whom she had taught a lesson 3 days ago. She vaguely felt that something was wrong, but she couldn't tell what. Finally that day, Yang Ruolan murmured, I heard junior sister say that this is King of Hell Chu's child. But the last time I saw King of Hell Chu, his appearance was completely different from this child's. Different? Chu Feiling was reading a book. He answered indifferently. But Yang Ruolan suddenly stood up, startling the absent-minded Chu Feiling. He raised his head and saw his wife's eyes wide open. She murmured, different? Why not? Although this child inherited some of his mother's features, his sharp eyebrows, nose and masculine aura definitely came from his father. But why not? Yang Ruolan's whole body trembled. Why not? Why? Chu Feiling groaned and lay on the chair. He thought to himself, Ruolan is going crazy thinking about her son again. What does it have to do with us, whether or not they look alike? But Yang Ruolan had already stood up. I'll go find junior sister. Hey, it's late at night now. Chu Feiling hurriedly stopped her, but Yang Ruolan turned a deaf ear. She had already gone far away. Chu Feiling smiled bitterly. Looking at the bright and dark candlelight, he thought to himself, when I go back this time, I must put in more effort to search. Otherwise, looking at my wife like this really makes me feel uneasy. That night, Tai Budian fed her child milk and let him fall asleep. Hearing that Yang Ruolan had come, she hurriedly received her. Originally, the children of the royal family were basically nursed by wet nurses, but Tai Budian firmly refused and insisted on raising them herself. This decision had once been greatly approved by Yang Ruolan. Tian, can I ask you something? Yang Ruolan came and looked at the sleeping child. Her heart was thumping wildly and her lips were dry. She asked nervously, You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.